Hi, everybody. Welcome to Geek the F Out. I'm Lucha Johnny.
I'm Kayla, and we are joined by some awesome guests. Someone
clock.
who has a clock tower just casually nearby, aka
He's got a
Brick
clock.
something.
That's a really big clock you have.
Thank you. You can call me Tina or Beth. Hi.
And we have the illustrious Allison Troy.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Burbank.
I thought you were going to say effervescent for some reason.
Effervescent.
That
was trying to
popped into my head.
And somehow illustrious was the word. I don't know
Illustrious,
how or why.
effervescent.
Oop, shit. Okay, I think we're good. Anyways, welcome!
Hello.
We are here to...
Is the sound gonna just be in the background the whole time?
No.
No? Dang it.
It's gone.
Well
Kinda
done
hoping
in
it would
true
be.
Poe fashion. That set the tone. Thank you very much. Well done.
Yes. Johnny keeps
That's so
surprising me with these intros, and he does a magnificent job. Oh my god, sorry.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, he always
Congrats.
surprises me.
I've got...
So I can't look down in this, or else my eyelashes hit.
I've got lofty goals for the Loki finale, so we'll see if I can
Ooh,
make
you're gonna
that
do something
happen.
different?
Yeah. We'll try.
Wow. Okay. Anyways, so Brick, you weren't here when we discussed episodes 1 and 2. Do you
Nope.
have any quick thoughts on the first 2 episodes before we get into the rest of it?
We were just saying before that it was hard to kind of figure out what was. I will just say that this show.
The first episode was a lot
you.
of disposition. Is that the right word?
Exposition. Is that what you're?
I thought exposition was at the end. Okay, never mind. You're the teacher. Exposition.
Reposition? Supposition. Opposition.
So many positions. So it sets up a lot. We get the background of Rod and Mad's family, specifically their mom, and her death, and they buried her alive. We get that. We get a little bit of their night, New Year's 1980 with Verna.
Mm-hmm.
We get a teeny tiny bit of that. And then we get Prospero's death in episode 2 and the giant orgy and all the sexual things that were happening in that episode.
And the worst
my
ever.
Yeah.
Got
literally.
it. Yeah, no, thank you for the recap. I think
No problem.
I'll just say that I love that. First off, thank you, all of you. When we were on a stream together and you mentioned Fall of the House of Usher, I had no idea that it was coming. You just sort of mentioned that it was coming out. And I was like, wait, like Edgar Allan Poe? And I was super excited to hear about this because I had a little bit of a phase, a couple of different instances in my life of just being into Poe because, Gothic. And but no, those first 2 episodes just really kind of set the tone. And I really like Mike Flanagan's work. And so I was kind of curious to see how this was all going to work out. At first in my head, it was like, oh, they're going to do something around the Fall of the House of Usher, and had no idea that it was going to be like a Edgar Allan Poe fest. So, and then there's all the layered subtext, which is like kind of just like text, critiquing sort of like the world we live in. And it was great. Those first 2 episodes really kind of set it all up, set the tone in a cool, like, what the hell's going on kind of way. So I dug it. I really liked the first 2 episodes. That's all.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I said when we talked before that if you we're iffy on the first episode, by the second episode it will definitely hook you into it. So it kind of worked out well that we did the first 2 episodes last time, although some people decided to watch more than that.
I don't know who you could possibly be talking about.
And I'm curious, was that because you got hooked or you just wanted to defy Silver K?
I got hooked. For me, I was in.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
I've been waiting for this.
I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to watch more, but I was trying to do what we were supposed to do.
I didn't know. I
Anyways,
misunderstood the assignment, apparently.
as the
Oh.
youths like to say.
As the
Yes.
youth, the young people.
As the youths.
For me, it was simply like a thing that me and two high school friends do. Like we
Wait.
often during spooky season watch scary stuff together,
Oh.
and they both had the day off work. They had childcare arranged, so we had time to watch 4 episodes, and that was the only time we got this year. So we just did 4 episodes. So
Gotcha.
I put people over the internet making content, basically. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, no, I mean, yeah. But yeah. So,
Anywho, Johnny, did you see my message? Do you see what I'm saying at all?
I see what you're saying, but that's not the case for me.
Yeah, I see it.
You both see it?
Yep.
Literally, it doesn't, like, when I scroll through subscriptions, it's not there.
I see it on my.
Like, when I purposely click on subscriptions.
weird.
I'm looking at it right now on YouTube from not the GTFO account, so we are live.
Yeah, but is
These
it
are my
home
confessions.
or is it?
As-
It's not a streaming thing. It's a. I don't know.
I think you're good.
Okay. Weird. Anyways, I don't know why it's not showing up. Literally all of my things I'm checking, it's not showing up.
Weird.
Anyways, yeah, I literally checked 3 accounts.
I see it. It's down in the list. It's a YouTube weirdness thing.
Okay.
But it's
I'm
there.
not seeing it. Oh, whoa.
We're good.
I don't
We're good.
see it. I only see bricks. Anyways, I don't know what's going on. Anyways, back to the show. Okay. So I know we talked a little bit last time on who we thought the next deaths would be, or maybe like the order of the deaths, which Allison, I don't know if you remember who we predicted.
I know
At
my
all?
prediction.
But you knew what was happening.
I hadn't. Well, no, I knew the 2 of them. I didn't know after those 2. So I expected Tamerlane to go a little bit sooner in the order than she did. I mean, she wasn't that far off, but I just felt like we had gotten way
she
more
was second
time.
to last.
Yeah, we got way more time with her, and usually the up until sort of, I guess, for the first 4 episodes, we get the most of the person who's going to drop dead that episode. So I was just, it was a little odd. I mean, not in a bad way. It was just, it threw off. Well, in a good way, it threw off my expectations. Like, I thought it would sort of be flipped around a little bit. I was, I expected Vic to last a little bit longer than she did.
Yeah.
But
did they die in age order?
They died. I figured this out around the 5th episode, Telltale Heart, when Victorine dies. They died in reverse birth order.
Okay.
Youngest child, youngest of Roderick's children to oldest.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of thrown off for Lenore, I think, because she's of the bloodline, but she's not Roderick's.
She's not direct.
And then I'm assuming Roderick is older than Madeline, and Madeline died before him. So Lenore was the only exception to the rule of dying youngest to oldest.
Is there do you think any significance to that? I don't think I even clocked that order, but you're right.
I didn't clock the order. I just figured, well, I didn't think she would actually I didn't actually think she was technically of the bloodline. I was expecting and I feel like she
would have a different dad.
I feel like they almost sort of made those suggestions on purpose so that we would think she could get away. But also with the way Verna, the Raven, explains everything when it's explained to me. I just, based on the motives we get from her, by the end of it, it feels like she actually, it's the only time, like, because we don't really know in the beginning why she's doing what she's doing, and then once we understand, like, it's, like the like quintessential deal with the devil, right? But she also, in her interactions with Pym, we see that she's really impressed when he refuses her offer.
Mm-hmm.
Like her reaction to me is like, you're the first person in a really long time who hasn't taken a deal with me. And and it casts her in a much different light than you typically get, sort of like the devil, the devil with the deal sort of, like it's often very much like, ha ha ha, now I tricked you the whole time. Whereas it's a very clean deal she has with them. Like she doesn't, like nothing in the way she does, the thing she does is underhanded. I mean, like some of it's really grotesque, but at the same time, none of it is underhanded. None of it is a trick. They try to trick her at the end, especially the sister, like the sister, the sister keeps trying to like find a trick, a loophole or whatever, but the devil never does. The devil is made a very straightforward deal and adheres to it. And in my opinion, by the end of it, we see that she, in fact, has some, to me anyway, it looks like she has a little wiggle room. Or else she would have, even though, the wife is still alive and like does all this good. To me, that's wiggle room, because if you actually, like she married into the family, technically she is now of the bloodline, whether or not, she didn't take all the spouse. Some of the spouses were collateral damage, but none of the spouses were actually killed, but they could have been, because by the terms of the deal, the way I heard it when it was presented, that would include spouses and people who've married into the family, because you're then part of that bloodline. So
I'm guessing they mean literal blood, though.
Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, but at the same time, there are still technically Ushers left over for the guy, and I don't know. I feel like not letting Lenore die was a different circumstance, because she says to
like grow old and die.
Whenever, like right before Lenore's dad dies, I can't, the kid from E.T. I keep forgetting his name. But right before
I had no idea what that was.
Elliot. Yeah, but I feel like she's having this interaction with him, and it sounds like she had some. She's like, I made the decision when you got the pliers, and it was like, and then she like, the irony of it, like in the other timeline that would have happened had they not taken the still, you would have been a dentist, like. And the way she phrased that to him made me feel like she has a little wiggle room, and I feel like the only thing at the end of it where I felt any sort of ambivalence about Verna / the Raven was because she took Lenore, and to me it was unjustified. Like, there's a difference between the sins of the father being played out, whereas Lenore, as she even said to Lenore before she took her, like, you went out of your way to defy this and to be a good person, and you're basically not like the others. And I just, based on the motives of her wanting to make the world better, like that's really what I took away. Like, despite, so I think referring to her as like quote unquote devil, I don't think is accurate. She's some sort of force of chaos, but she's playing sort of that role. But I think with how they play her, it feels like to me it was a mistake. It almost feels like the death of Lenore in it was the one place where they felt like we have to really stick to the Poe thing, and we need this sort of last shock. So for me, that was really long, but I was unhappy with that in a really quintessential way. I felt like that was a cheat, and I feel like before that, the Raven had been very
pretty good,
honest in her deal, and her deal was just, it was what it was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. I mean, it was interesting that they did youngest to oldest, because one would think it would be oldest to youngest, but I guess if you're like getting back to the source in time,
Oh
makes
yeah.
sense.
No, that does make sense, because at the end
Yeah.
it's gonna end with the twins. So
Yeah.
they're working their way up.
The twins.
Except for, as you pointed out, Lenore, which was a little bit
Yeah.
odd.
It was
Yeah.
like a side adventure. We didn't.
I guess because maybe they go like generation by generation.
Yeah.
That's why.
Plus, if you take out the oldest first, then they don't get to see the misery that they have wrought
Right.
by taking the deal.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, it's actually their deal, so it's like they don't.
Yeah.
If you take
Sure.
them out first, they don't get to see that they're paying for that. It's actually real, because as Madeline even said, like, I didn't
Yeah.
think it was real half the time.
They need to see the consequences
Yeah.
of their actions and making the deal.
Right. And so at first I was like, oh, well, maybe she, as we were talking, because I hadn't at all kept track of the order, but oh, maybe she was trying to spare her as long as she could, given that she actually loved, like, appreciated. Verna seemed to really, be drawn and regret be drawn to Lenore and regretted having to end her life. But at the same time, maybe it wasn't so much that, but also, as you kind of pointed out, the pain of losing Lenore would probably have been the greatest for Roderick. So it's kind of like the big
it's the
F you at the end.
The culmination of everything.
Yeah. Ouch. That sucks. Woo. This thing is heavy. But yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it gets deep. That's what they said. There's so many different
never heard
layers to it. There's so many different layers to it. Outside of the poe of it all and the symbolism, just death and like knowing you've made this deal but have forgotten about this deal and don't believe this deal is real, and then she comes back and Madeline is still trying to literally grab onto her, and it's like, this bitch isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are very lucky Mike Flanagan worked on this series and maybe working on the Dark Tower.
Yeah, I read
points out.
something that he's working on. His next thing is another Stephen King adaptation, because he's done King before. He did the movie, the Gerald's Game movie.
Yeah,
that's not out yet?
He's done a lot.
Gerald's Game?
Yeah, that is.
Oh, it's been out. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was one of his first projects, if I'm remembering correctly.
I also
really?
think it was the first time he and Carla
Gugino
worked together.
Spy Kids mom.
She played the.
That's how I know her. Spy Kids mom.
So wait, I know that he's working on a new Stephen King. Is it The Dark Tower?
He is.
Or was it something different?
I forgot. I literally posted it on
The
our
Life of Chuck is, is a movie that he's working on based on Stephen King's If It Bleeds novella.
Got it. Yeah, that's with Tom Hiddleston, right? Because I saw that cast
Hiddleston,
recently.
Mark
Okay,
Hamill's
got it. That's what I thought you were referring to. A lot of.
The
reason I thought it was a different thing was because I thought, based on what Renders was saying, that Dark Tower was next. But so there is this other thing.
Yeah, he does his two sort of next series things that are sort of in development. And one of them may end up being a film, but he's working on the adaptation of Christopher Pike's The Season of Passage, which, despite
not
Netflix
confused
canceling,
with the Strange New Worlds character.
I know. Young adult author Christopher Pike.
That was my first thought.
Which is how I know of the name of Christopher Pike, is because that was my jam in junior high and high school through college. But so he's got that in develop, and maybe a novel. I mean, like the Midnight Club, everyone's kind of like, oh, it fell flat. It's not that it fell flat. It's just his deal ended with Netflix, and Netflix isn't going to renew it without Flanagan. And technically, I don't think you can take it to a different studio, so that's why we're not getting Midnight Club season 2. Anyway, but he also has the film.
I just figured it was a one-off. I just figured it was one off like everything else.
He only adapted about half of Christopher Pike's novels. He did like about 5 or 6 of them. Midnight Club is a novel, and then like each of the individual stories. He did with what he did. He did with Christopher Pike what he did for Poe. Except he got all of Poe's major works. He left a lot of the Christopher Pike stuff on. I mean, Christopher Pike's last vampire series in the novels had vampires who were cool and could run around during the day, but Sita,
shimmered.
main character, she was not sparkly, but there was some chatter in certain Christopher Pike forums, because that's what we had back in the day, was forums. We didn't have YouTube, internet chat thingies. But there was some chatter that Ms. Myers may have read some Pike and stolen some of his vampire tropes. Anyway, but yeah, so the Dark Tower, he has the television rights, and sort of he and Amazon have been chatting, but whether that happens or not. But yeah, he has an actual movie with Mark Hamill. That's the
amazing.
So.
Okay.
Also, I was incorrect. It was not one of his first things. He had done Oculus, Hush.
How dare you?
And Ouija.
Hush, that's right. Hush is really good.
Yeah, Hush is really good.
Ouija?
Oculus was really good too. Yeah, Ouija. Ooh. Sorry, Origin of Evil.
Oh, no, I didn't know that it's pronounced that way. I just don't like Ouija boards. They scare me. I did one in high school for my 16th birthday with a bunch of my friends, and it literally spelled out my friend's middle name, which none of us who had our fingers on it, not her, knew her middle name. And it was Simon. Like, you would never guess that as a girl's middle name. And it spelled it out. Ever since then.
Yeah, Ouija boards are bad juju. Don't trust them.
Yeah. No, thank you. Not to
got 2 of them over there, but sure.
Rick, I'm going to have to come clean out your house.
Ouija board. All right, we're off. Where were we?
Anyway,
where were we?
I just have a bunch of questions. I mean, we can talk specifically about episodes, but I think there's so much that kind of just generally talk about it. So we talked about incest a little bit last time between Rod and Madeline.
I didn't get. There were some vibes in early episodes, but then it was dropped. It must have just been.
It just came across as. It came across to me as a situation where there's not anything inappropriate about it, but it's not really appropriate either. Like,
because they were sleeping in the bed and stuff. Yeah. I just assumed like they were just effed up, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, their mom and all of that they were kind of in isolation, that they'd grown up, and they were just. It was
very VC Andrews, is what it was. There was like flowers in the attic almost. So.
There were other things to me.
There were some overtures.
Aside from just them staying in that bed together, which was the first thing that made me go. But then they're in crisis. They're traumatized, who knows.
Well, and also the original Post story, it is suggested. I mean, also incest was way more common back in the day among wealthy families, but it was sort of implied in that story. The part of the reason
the bloodlines keep going.
The Usher family was cursed was sort of the inbreeding to keep the money in the family and the crumbling mansion and whatnot.
Gotta spread the genes apart. Not enough left for any more of you royals. Sorry.
Dude. She's not good enough for the king. She can't be the princess for anyone else. Now, can she? Anyway. I
have no idea what that's from.
Mine was in the Eddie Izzard bit.
Well, because as we say back in the South, she's not good enough for your family. She's not good enough for you. Her family, she's not good enough for you, which is i.e. why some people in the South don't marry virgins. Anyway.
Anyways.
I think that there was, as the series went on, there was, and maybe it was just not relevant to the story. Madeline doesn't have any kids.
She talks about getting the IUD. Yeah.
Does she? I missed that. I was
with Rod at the end, and then she also talks about Viagra and Limpy Dicks and Roe v. Wade. It was kind of a great little speech.
Yeah, she had a great going out with the bang sort of.
She did. And she didn't even know she was going out with a bang.
Well, it was
That's
the
just
first time I
how
liked
fucking
her.
badass she was.
It was the first time I liked that character. I was like, oh, she's cool after all. Never mind. I apologize
Right?
for all of the
Same.
shit I thought about you, ma'am.
I must have missed the IUD
Yeah.
part of the speech because I was like the whole way through, I was under the impression like there was never any mention of her being in a relationship or
Right.
doing anything sexual aside from like when she faked
I-
out what's his nuts the
Griswold.
Yeah.
What's his nuts?
I couldn't remember his name.
Griswold.
Yeah, no, she's like, you know,
Their original
it's when-
boss at
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking of the Family Vacation, but yes.
I
Oh.
know. I know. Every time I heard Griswold, I was like, Family Vacation.
Right. No, and Johnny, it's whenever they're talking about how they didn't take her seriously. You know, how were we supposed to know it was for real? And that's when she says, like, she's like, I never really thought it was real, but I still got an IUD just in case. Like that, it was that. Yeah, it was that.
And
quick.
she's like, and you couldn't.
Couldn't keep it on your hands or whatever.
You couldn't. It was something relating to a condom,
It was snark.
but like said something like that to him, to like a stewardess, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, you tell him. He didn't get snipped. He didn't do nothing. He was just like, fuck it.
Oh right, when she was
There was no
when
port
she was
and
talking
no
to him
storm.
about how many fucking kids he has.
No
Yeah.
port and no storm he wouldn't park his ship in.
Yeah.
Every port.
Because she had no children when they made the deal, and there's no indication that she had any after that.
Right.
Which is why she deferred to Rod in that deal. She was like, I don't have a say. You're the one who has kids. And then Verna's like, you're still a part of this, honey. Still anyone in the future. Okay, so no incest. Glad we got that taken care of.
No overt, but implied.
Yes.
Taboo avoided.
Taboo avoided. Check that off the list.
We're not going to get that far.
What about the mole reveal?
That
there was no mole? How do we feel about that?
That was great. There was a point, I can't remember exactly when it was, but there was a point where I had the thought, like, what if it was all fake out? It was brief. I didn't go through the whole series waiting for them to say there was no actual informant, but I had the brief thought that there might not be.
Okay.
Although I wonder if that in a court of law as a prosecutor, if that is legal or no? Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. Like that would have gotten the whole case thrown out anyway. Yep. So it's kind of good
in the court of Netflix.
So
totally fine.
Which is funny because Rod brings that up to him too. He's like, "Oh, I would have loved to see this play out in court because you had to, steep to my level and watch you, take away all your integrity. Would have been worth it to see that." But yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's definitely not legal.
So,
which I don't know. Maybe it could. Maybe there still could. I was wondering if there still could have been, but he just said that because he felt bad, and they're all dead anyways.
Maybe.
He seemed like a good dude for the most part.
I feel like if that was the case, we would have got a flashback or something revealing to the audience at least that there actually was an informant.
I don't know. I mean, there's probably some eagle-eyed people that are like, well, it was obviously this person because this and that.
My thought,
not me.
My thought on like, and I also did want to talk about this because I do feel like there was a dropped sort of implied subplot, and it didn't. Because at one point I was like, wow, like so Augie and like Roderick, they're like into each other, right? Like, because there was a point where it felt like there was some sexual tension. So my thought was there was
I thought that too,
where they had some sort of illicit affair, gave into their carnal desires for one another, and Roderick let some shit slip, and that
I would pay to see that.
Actual was the actual quote unquote informant because of pillow talk. So obviously they didn't go there, but
Because of pillow talk.
well, I mean,
You never know.
afterwards, the afterglow, you've got all those chemical hormones. You say
The
stuff
hormones.
like,
Mhm.
like let's get married and have babies and never, like you say stupid shit in the afterglow.
Carl.
Yeah, Carl. Like,
Carl.
like, yeah,
Host.
you're like, I'm gonna buy Twitter to impress you, Grimes, and then like we see where that ends up. So
Here we go.
what?
Everyone drink. Grimes/Grimes' ex was brought up.
I'm just saying he trolls me because look at what I call him, and look at what about 3 months later he changed his platform to. I'm just saying.
Water.
Um,
Anyways, I also thought it was interesting that it came halfway through the season, about halfway through the season. Maybe it was like episode 5 or something, where he tells them there's no mole. I was like, this is very early on to be doing that. But I guess, it obviously was not important because there was no mole.
Well, yeah, I mean,
don't
I
know.
feel like that was. I almost felt again like this sort of ties into the like the sexual attention, like are they doing it thing. It almost felt like to me that the point was there was no mole, but it was partly to make. I feel like partly it was him also thinking, well, if I make him paranoid enough, he'll do something really stupid, or one of the kids will do something, or one of them will crack under the pressure that this brings, and they will become an informant. I don't feel like he lied about that intentionally with the thought, well, I think he honestly thought when they got to court, somebody would have caved and like become an informant because it created where the first
Interesting.
the first episode when there's that big dinner scene, it feels like we're about to get a show where it's like they're all stuck in the house together and they start killing each other, and that's not what happened.
Yeah,
I'm happy that that's not what happened because I was like, this is going to be a really long 7 fucking episodes if this is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can rewatch an Agatha Christie, like, we don't call it 10 little, it's, and then there were none. Yeah. So, like I can go watch that. Like, maybe Flanagan will adapt some Agatha Christie now that, but yeah, so I don't know.
He's expanding.
Well, I mean, he's done Stephen King, he's done Christopher Pike, who in the 80s and 90s was like the teen set Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, like Shirley Jackson, like he's done all the, Haunting of Bly Manor was the twist of the screw, like he's the turn of the screw. He's done all of sort of
same time.
Yeah, like I expect we're gonna get some sort of Dracula thing from him, some Mary Shelley. If he's really doing horror, maybe he'll do some of Ben Shapiro's books. They just cover the whole gamut of horror. Like, the return of the dried dead or whatever.
Sorry.
I
love you, Allison.
I don't know. Anyway. So.
Okay.
You mentioned Agatha Christie, but I think Kenneth Branagh's got that stuff on lockdown.
Like, yeah, it's not how her rights work. Like, there are like 30 different companies that have. Yeah. Anyway.
Any other thoughts on the mole reveal when it was revealed? That there was
no
mole?
I don't think I just think that I think he was desperate, right? He was really sort of desperate, especially after we sort of realized that they had a history of working together and that he screwed him. It became
like, I
personal.
need to get him.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of where it was going.
Which is crazy because part of their deal is that they would never get in trouble for anything. Which I mean, like, I guess you can control that, but it also just sucks that like Dupont was never gonna win. Like, poor Dupont.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny because you bring that up, and it's like, I guess they had to sort of at the end, they had that conversation. The twins have the conversation of like, hey, did you actually believe this thing? You know, so and clearly they didn't, because if they did, they wouldn't have tripped, right? It would just be like, whatever, we're gonna be fine. And so it's kind of
But
weird.
also,
I had to.
wouldn't you? Yeah, sorry. Wouldn't you start to think like this happened very quickly? Like, granted, yes, they killed Griswold, but the fact that they never got in trouble for Griswold, they never got in trouble for like a shit ton of other things they did, and they kept making money, wouldn't you start to think like, oh, this is like actually coming true? Or did they think that they really did all that on their own?
With the way that Madeline said they hadn't even talked about that night at all over the years since it happened, I think they were egotistical enough to think that they were just smart enough to get away with it on their own.
Yeah, and I also think there's a little bit of just like it's fantasy. You know, even when you read Poe's books, at a certain point, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess he's just going. You know, you just kind of go with it, because really, they were kids who buried their mom, and her mom came back to life, and then she proceeded to, like, there's a lot of fantastic things that happen in their life that you would think maybe would have clued them in, but
yeah,
you just kind of go with it, I guess.
I was about to say that. Like, their mom came back from the dead. Come on.
It feels like that was another drop storyline as well.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, I expected that. I mean, again,
like to learn more about that.
Yeah, well, I also felt like because it's a pharmaceutical company, you know, and the drug has all of these effects, I was expecting that something that whatever made their mother come back from the dead. I expected that they had somehow used her genetics to make some of their drugs, which of course didn't happen. Maybe in the sequel, The Return of the Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah, add another thing to
right. The Return of the Fall of the House of Usher happened last
I already just like what's the word? Just like what is it when you just use the first letters? Why can't I think of that word? The acronym is already long enough. Like, gotta make it even longer.
That's funny. It's like what was it?
Oh yeah,
Motut Manut.
Motut Manut.
Motut Manut. Yeah,
that was amazing. That made my day.
So this. Mike Flanagan presents Edgar Allan Poe's Return to the Return of the Fall of the House of Usher.
Nut.
This time it's personal.
Right. Jason
Yeah, I mean, some of the other ones we kind of did jump into. What was that, episode 5? But I brought up a list to help remind me. The cat one, if we go back to that, or do you want to, is there anything in episode 3, Murder in the Morgue?
Yeah, fucking Camille, gone too soon. Yeah. My heart was broken.
I know. My girlfriend. Yeah. My girlfriend. The short platinum blonde hair, y'all. Why is this a trend now? And like, why is it my thing? And it's so hard.
Don't get me wrong. I still agree. She is an awful person. Just like the rest of them.
I think she was misunderstood. I liked her.
I still love her.
Go girl. She was such a boss.
She was badass.
Like, you know, she's not even the boss babe who slides into your messages to get you to join an MLM. She's like a cool boss babe.
I knew that was going there.
I mean, it happens once, it happens twice, it happens the 17th time you were Generation X. So I'm just saying.
I liked the planting of the seed for the Black Cat, episode 5, where he wakes up and I literally thought he killed the fucking cat in some drug-induced haze, but I think it was all a hallucination from Verna.
It was because he hallucinated all the dead animals in his tub too, so he hallucinated a lot. I will say my favorite line from that death is when he takes Thor's hammer and then he's like smashing things. He's like, I can even get Hemsworth to get me another hammer, and I'm like, amazing. just chef's kiss. The fact that like that hammer was probably like a prop on set and he's friends with Hemsworth, I was like, wow, the amount of money, Jesus Christ.
Right.
And I meant to say this before with both Madeline and Rod's ego. Like, I think a lot of that had to do with them, their entitlement to with thinking that they accomplished all these things and not that it was because they made this deal, not just the ego, but like I think there is definitely an entitlement factor added on to that. Yeah, so we have Camille's death, which also, her assistants well, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Which
love her too. I love her in the previous Flanagan stuff too. No matter what character she is, I find myself drawn.
She was such a different role in this. It was amazing. Everybody was really cast as such a different character than they had previously played.
Yeah.
Which helped to alleviate some of that. I don't know if nepotism is the right word, but like Flanagan has his troupe of people that he always pulls into these projects.
The irony of nepotism in this show.
It can get a little like, oh, it's all of these people again. But they're all in such different roles, and not that they're not good in the roles that they've been in. Just sometimes variety is nice to pull in more new people. But they were all such different characters in this that it was super fresh to me.
Was the actress who played Mads, was she in something else?
I don't think she was in anything he's done before.
Yeah, Mads. Yeah, so like he brings in new people, but it was nice because it wasn't all, and like that's what he does. He doesn't do all the same people from the previous work. Like he brought in like a mixture of pretty much everyone who's been on.
Bruce Greenwood was new. Mark Hamill was the first time he was in anything of his.
Yep. Which that was awesome.
Lenore.
Luke Skywalker. No, or I know Lenore was in Dr. Sleep.
She was
I didn't see it. I've only seen the series. I haven't actually watched his films.
I watched it, but I kind of half watched it. Watched it for Zadie Ewan.
But I like that. I like the whole like you work with a troupe of actors. It's like David Mamet used to do that, and I don't know. There's something
Kevin
about
Smith does it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. It's like stage plays, right? Or like you have a set of players, and you kind of just mix it up, and it's just different. It's fun.
And you get to know them better and know their strengths and weaknesses. I'm sure that's why like each of these series have done pretty well, except for apparently Midnight Club. I really liked Midnight Club.
Well, we don't know if they did well because Netflix doesn't actually release numbers, but it's just Flanagan is part of that deal, and Flanagan leaves Netflix, and they can't really do it without him. So
Yep. Okay, so we have Cammy's death, which was interesting. Averna kind of takes the shape as animals for several of these deaths. And then obviously the Raven. But, she ends up being what did it end up being, a monkey or a chimp? After all this.
It was a chimp.
Chimp. Okay, that's
no tail.
Carla's performance when she jumps up on that table and imitates like a chimp was
so creepy.
Fantastic. She's amazing.
So good. And then she even starts to like make the same kind of chimp sounds when her heart is beating out of her chest. That was crazy. And then next is Leo's, right? Right. So next is Leo's and the cat and Thor's hammer. It's kind of sad too that like he's such in this haze that he wants to get this cat so bad, and it's right there on the railing, and I'm just like, bro, like where this is gonna go, but like he's just so delusional that that's what happened, and he fell off and he died. which, had Julian as the witness for that, which, is why everyone was like, it was a suicide. Little did they know it was being manipulated. And then we have Vix, which that episode is a lot. Did you guys think that she killed Allie, like when she threw the thing? Like, did you know then?
As soon as she threw it and they cut the black, I'm like, oh well, she fucking brained her and she's dead.
Right.
Yeah. I figured as well. I was like kind of holding on to hope that maybe she didn't die, but because we had heard or seen previously in the episodes that she had killed her partner and then committed suicide.
What's her name? Allie? Is that what her name was in there? Alex.
She would call her Allie or Allie or Al. She went by Al a lot.
The character's name was Alessandra Ruiz.
Yeah, because when Camille died, you're like, oh, I enjoyed watching her. That's okay. Alex is still. Oh, that's where I was. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for Rod to have to witness that and Vic.
Yeah.
Ooh.
One of my when he sees Alessandra's body and Vic's talking to him and Roderick's just like, she's quite dead.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Just the way that was
funny. It's
Got
funny because he starts to play along with it and then he's like, she's quite dead.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna play along with this. Like clearly she's delusional. Yeah, and then ends up killing herself. But oh my god, but the heart mesh was apparently working, but I guess it also is probably works more easily when you're dead.
It was functioning. I don't know if it was, or is it?
Well, I mean, it's if
functioning.
We're working. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like the heart was still doing something, so obviously it works. If you put it in somebody who's alive and not dead, I bet it would work even better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting that through after that sort of testing is going to be really hard. Yes. And was it the FDA? Yeah, the FDA probably wouldn't approve. So.
Probably not.
This is where I was starting to theorize. I have a theory written down here, like wondering if Annabelle was the person in the basement wall that he kept going to visit. Obviously, we find out later that she is not, but that was my first thought. Like, who could? Yeah,
who did we?
Annabelle?
Who did we think was in the wall early on?
Oh, in the wall, not down in the basement, but in the wall.
Yeah, in the basement wall, like
the brick wall, the basement brick wall.
Where the jester, we learned that
you're talking about that it's the jester. Okay, no, I wasn't sure if you're talking about in the house downstairs.
I mean,
oh no,
yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
gotcha.
I knew
no.
Fortunato was in a wall because that's the
story.
story.
Yeah.
So
same.
Yeah, so I mean, like, and to me, I knew as soon as like they name dropped him, like, oh yeah, he's like going to be in a wall somewhere.
I knew he was going to be the one they killed that night on New Year's 1980. At first, I figured, it was Annabelle. And then I don't know who I thought after that. But yeah, pretty much towards the end, though, I was like, oh, obviously they kill Griswold and that's where he goes.
Oh, this is also the episode where they do reveal that Roderick and Madeline are in fact Longfellow's children.
Mm-hmm. Like,
I thought
you're saying make it explicit.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. They come out and say it. Like Griswold says something about it too.
Yeah, like he knew.
Mm-hmm.
We knew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked seeing. And I kept. It's interesting too. I don't know if you mentioned this last time, but there was this BSG thing going on in this with Anders and. Did you guys watch Battlestar Galactica or no?
It's been a long time since
Oh,
I've
okay.
watched it.
So both the sister, oh my God, what's Roderick's twin's name? Madeline. The older Madeline is President Rosalind from Battlestar Galactica, and
Oh,
That's right, because she just got announced for Fan Expo
yeah,
SF,
and the
they were
guy,
like
the
BSG. I was
CEO,
like, "Ugh."
the CEO in the wall, the jester, is Anders. He's like one of the Viper pilots. Anyway, both great,
Interesting.
both fantastic actors, and again, doing very different things. I think Anders was in another one prior. I think this was I keep calling her Rosalind. Sorry, Madeline's first time in this Mike Flanagan thing, right?
I believe
Was this her
so.
first?
I believe
I
Yeah.
think so.
Anyway, I had a sense that it was her. That was like my favorite story. That was a story for whatever reason in high school that was like, oh, this is fascinating. That's creepy. Like, let's the oh God, what is the name of the story now? A cask of Amontillado.
yeah.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite, like most creepy little stories back in the day. So I was excited to see that. Totally had a sense that it was going to be him. But
yeah, Michael Truger Griswold, he was in Hush.
Thanks, Renders.
I was going to say,
and he was in Midnight Mass.
I have not seen Midnight Mass yet.
Ooh,
oh, was he?
Allison.
Yeah, that's right. In Midnight Mass, he was a very different character. Sorry to go back, because I'm now, as we're talking, I'm like, did Roderick actually believe it or not? And I think he did. Like, but it is a little bit weird, like that believe that Verno had made a deal or something, because I don't know, like everything from like.
I mean, I think that
the
Madeline.
Yeah.
I think Madeline definitely did, because like anyone who's gotten an IUD put in, it's a memorable fucking experience. It is not a fun experience. Getting them taken out is not a fun experience. So like, and that's a big life decision too. And granted, some people don't want kids, and that's fine. But like she could have also just like done other forms of birth control too. But like to specifically have something implanted in you when there are other options, I think is very telling of that.
Well, the only reason that I brought it up again is when you were talking about Roderick seeing Alessandra's body, and that reaction was just kind of felt like it was almost like he just, I don't know, it didn't seem like he was shocked enough, I guess, or just like, what the is going on? It was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, a bunch of these bad things are going to happen. I just kind of know it. So it felt a little bit like he was just too cool with everything that was going on. Even from the beginning, when Prospero, was that his name?
Yeah,
the young one
/ Perry.
Yeah, when they found his body, it was weird. It was kind of like at moments you're just like, he seems like he knows something's up, and he just, but then it brings me back to this question of, well, why wouldn't you just kind of go with it? You're protected. What's the big deal? So I don't know, a little odd.
I think
you mean protected, but he's gonna die.
Well, he's protected in that. No, why would he worry about this case?
Oh, with the case. Well, I mean, yeah, he knew he was gonna win. I think it was very telling that he was never worried about it.
He was worried enough to yell at the family about a mole. Like, if there was a mole, who cares?
I think he was in denial partly that.
I think the mole was like a separate issue. Like, who would go against the family? I don't think he was worried about losing. He was just like, someone's going against the fam.
But there's also there is even though like technically he may not ever pay for the things he does, that doesn't mean like the company couldn't pay. Like, like how specific is that deal? Like, the brother and the sister, they're never gonna like go to jail for anything they've done. They'll never get caught. But that doesn't mean like the company couldn't, like be gutted and like forced into bankruptcy, because those are two separate things, and it's not.
Maybe.
I wonder what.
But he would still promise the life of fortune and all that. So even if that company fails, you're just gonna like become the head of Monsanto or any of
Yeah,
the other
right,
things.
exactly.
You're going to become president of the United States of America anyway. It's all good.
But also, like, your reputation,
You're
like
infallible.
you might not ever get caught, but in the court of public opinion, I mean, Pim even makes a comment to Verna, like, well, what about, you know, like, when she makes the comment, she's like, you know, as I told one of my clients, you could shoot
right.
someone in Times Square, and he's like, about that one, how much time?
Right. Yeah. Fair enough.
You know, like, there's sort of that, you know, like, just because you don't ever pay for it doesn't mean you don't. There aren't other consequences or inconvenience.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is true with any sort
Yep.
of, you know, and that's so in place where, you know, like, again, Verna, I guess, she's way more like death than she is sort of the devil. But that's where the character to me is far, you know, like, there was a little bit of sort of the like wiggle room, like, there are definitely ill effects that were faced. There weren't any sort of lasting legal effects, but definitely, and as each of them fall, there are suddenly things that are going really badly. So, like, he's not going to go to jail probably, but as everyone starts dropping dead, he's got to know, well, it's almost time. We're going to die soon, and there's nothing that extends for, well, one, his legacy is going to be gone because his whole bloodline's gone, then everything else is gone. And so
I have thoughts about Verna, but I guess we should save that for episode 8.
No, Verna.
Yeah.
Verna.
Lots of thoughts on Verna. Oh, okay. I just got some confirmation. There's something weird going on. For some reason with the lives tonight, only certain ones are coming up, apparently. According to people. You have to literally either click the live tab or it happens to show up, but apparently it's not there on a bunch of people's, which makes a lot more sense now. Anyways, so okay, we've done Cammy's, Leo's, Vic's, Tammy's death. Essentially being so jealous and in her head that Verna's there, that she, you know, tambourine, as I like to say last episode.
Yeah, it was the whole, like, I don't know, like, Gwyneth's whole, like, I mean, Tamerlane's whole kink in this episode, well, in the whole series, about where, like, she likes being cheated on, but as long as she gets, I don't know, it's just,
she's fine watching. She's a voyeur.
Fine watching, but, like, I mean, obviously it's a control.
Oh, with the prosties? Oh, I guess I didn't see it as sorry. I didn't see it as is that a faux pas? I don't know.
I've just never heard it put that way before.
I've never heard that.
It's funny.
So
is it in case anyone finds this video?
I just thought it was I thought she was there. It wasn't. I didn't read it as cheating.
She's there.
Because you used the word cheating.
No. Cheating.
But what I mean is, I think like she is so, like she experiences life like detached, like so like dissociative, almost that I feel like she was watching her and her husband get together in her brain.
Mm-hmm. Well, she also she purposely.
Tamerlane,
I mean, but that would be fun. Because don't you ever think like what it would look like on the outside? Like, yeah, you can have mirrors, but you have to be looking at them. Which, I mean, they had mirrors. They had the headboard mirror. They had the headboard mirror. They had the ceiling. Which makes sense because, you know, you could do that every night with that much money, but
and
she wasn't doing it
that all the time.
She wasn't doing that's sorry.
What do you mean?
The prosties. Never mind. I got it.
I will say all of those mirrors were bold choice as flat as Tamerlane's hair was at all points. It was just like, that's a really bold choice, man.
But that's Allison, that's how her hair is normally.
No, it's not. Like, the actress normally has pretty hair, and her hair was very flat. It was very.
It's always been very flat and very close to her head.
it just looks different and everything else. She's just such a good actress that it looked extra flat in this thing. I'm just saying, like, I've never noticed how flat and lifeless her hair was before this. So
It's always
I mean, I didn't even
Well,
recognize
did you?
her.
Oh, you didn't watch
was-
Midnight Mass, did
It
you?
was, yeah, it was definitely
Oh,
like that
it's
when she
very
played Bev
flat.
Keen, which I have to
Yes.
say,
That
One,
character.
fuck Bev Keen. Two,
Yeah, Bev can go suck my dick.
that makes it doubly impressive because I was sitting here thinking about how I
Two
actually
very
felt
different characters.
I actually kind of felt bad for Tamerlane in this episode because I think from what we've seen, yeah, she's anal and controlling, but I think she's the least worst out of the people.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
But I also felt bad for her because she poured her heart out to Bill thinking he was there, and then she looked up and he wasn't. He was gone. So
Bill was
like
hot.
she got to the point where like she felt comfortable enough to tell him, you know, she was scared and she didn't know what was going on. And then she looks up to see what his response is, and he's not there, and his key is on the counter. And I felt bad for her in that instance.
I did too,
I did
and I
too.
knew that was gonna happen when she wasn't looking back at him. I'm like, oh fuck, he's gonna be gone. Also her time slippings.
Yeah.
That was hard to watch for personal reasons.
Which
but
credit to Samantha Sloan. I don't know how you pronounce her
The
last
actor.
name. Yeah,
Right.
the actor for making me feel sympathetic for the character that she was playing because she separated herself from Bev Keen because fuck Bev Keen. I can't do that with like Maria Hill, Kobe. Can't do it. I hated Robin from How I Met Your Mother. I hated her character. So every time I see Kobe in something, I just can't take it. So Maria Hill
what?
always bothered me.
You hate it? Oh my
Hated
god.
Robin.
You hate Robin Spring.
we know.
Hated
We
her.
know.
Could not stand the character.
Ugh, I
So
wanna go to the
anytime
mall
I
now.
see the actress come up on my screen, I go, oh fuck, no, not her.
Well, that's why I said it was interesting that you said she was the most likable, because I was sitting here going like, man, she was the one that I had the hardest, her and Frederick. And then I started going on the order, and I think that was probably intentional. So like the three I actually kind of liked, like there were elements of them that I liked. Prospero not so much, but the three ones that survived long enough for us to get to know, was like kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I see there's parts of them, you know. And then when I got to Frederick and Tamerlane, it felt more like oh, these personalities, but it also felt like both of them were very much what's the word, like
horrible.
But horrible because clearly it seemed like they were the direct recipients of Roderick's garbage, and so
Yeah,
like
because
they were
his garbage.
They're his two kids to Annabelle.
Yeah, that they grew up with, that like they were clamoring for,
which is
very different
crazy
ways.
that they call all the
attention.
other kids bastards, because it's like you're all bastards in a sense.
Important.
Yeah.
Don't get
and then
me
when
wrong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Tamerlane is not the most likable. My favorite, like I've said, is Camille. I just think she might be one of the least worst of them.
I don't know, like because for me, like the Gwyneth,
we also don't know too much about her.
The Tamerlanes of the world are like, you know, they're the ones who will sell an overpriced candle that smells like their vagina. Like they're the ones who are
goop
people into like really unhealthy eating patterns, and like you know, like I don't know, like I have for money, and like I get that we do a lot of evil things for money as a society, but there are just 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know, like whenever you sort of, to me, the people who are like twisting what the self-help movement began as a way to improve yourself, and twisted it to like you can make money off people by like passing off nonsense about like food like this food is toxins, and here you need to do my 3-week juice cleanse because obviously
everything has toxins and everything has microplastics.
And as long as you drink water and you have your
it.
kidneys and your liver, you don't need a special detoxification.
No.
And if you have problems,
you don't need to give yourself
go to the doctor. The juice
enemas.
cleanse the juice cleanse is just gonna make you shit. But anyway, so
unless you're doing it for other things, that's fine. But doing it for health reasons, stupid.
I don't know. So I have less sympathy for people like that. I have more sympathy for somebody like Camille, who like obviously is a product of being called a bastard and having to work 4 times harder in a very privileged family, obviously. But at the same time, she's having to actually do some of the dirty work for the family, that the family needs done so that people like Tamerlane can have this cushier existence. I mean, Frederick is a fucking bag of shit.
Wait, did you say
he
Bill?
has a bowling alley?
Right?
Yeah. Allison, did you say Bill?
In the kitchen?
No, Camille.
Oh,
why
Camille.
is that in the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, so Camille is awful, but Camille is awful in a way where it's like she's trying to like keep the family protected.
I mean, her bad personality trait and what she did was just spin, right? Like,
this is how we work it in
which
the media.
Is not the best, but
I mean, she also kind of had her
let's sort of look at this, but they did sign
controlling. And they were also kids.
Just because,
but sure.
I mean,
well, they were over 18, right?
I would hope so.
We don't have enough. We don't actually have
enough.
They did
send then they signed consent forms.
We weren't given enough to properly, adequately make judgment on Camille for that situation. I
had what I needed.
But I will say, when that part happened, when they voiced what they voiced, I was like, oh, Camille, like you're about to die probably, and I think I'm now okay with it, because I was up until that moment like I don't like this.
She did also have
okay, maybe it's all right. Maybe
she did also have a massive like blackmail file on each of her siblings. So like there's obvious invasion of privacy
that she called you Tina
there.
instead of Beth, and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yes. She was not.
She did look like a Tina. Let's be honest. She looks way more like a Tina than she did a Beth.
Again, I'm not saying that any of them are redeemable at all. They're all awful fucking people.
It's literally the best of the worst.
Except Lenore. Let's all agree Lenore.
Lenore.
I'm just talking about
separate.
Roderick and his direct kids, his direct children.
Let me ask you this, Leo. What like Leo? I'm cool with.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, like, he sold some drugs to like friends and family, and
as one does.
Yeah, and I got really confused about what he did because they talked about gaming, but then
I think it was like an equivalent of a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, he's a game developer.
But they also mentioned that he threw balls.
I mean,
rich people throw big parties.
There are some. Yeah, well, one, he comes from.
But they mentioned it like that was his job. Like he throws big parties.
I didn't take it that way.
I didn't take it as a job. I took it as like it's that thing where it's like there's certain celebrities who are known for, like their infamous parties. Like I just took it that way. Like he's a very rich person, and you want to go to one of his balls, like.
Yeah, for him it just seemed more like he had
one of his balls,
not lot of problems, and I didn't really see him sort of take those problems and put them on other people, with the exception of the infidelity of whatever.
Yeah,
but beyond
I think there was
that,
infidelity, and people mentioned there were hints that he was like his dad and just threw his dick at everything. So I think that was definitely part of it. But beyond that, the infidelities you can slut shame.
I mean,
if it's not ethical,
that's different.
Needs to be.
I'm just saying, like,
ethical,
Roderick
consensual.
was like manipulating people, selling drugs, ever killing people, lying about
in terms
those
of the
Robin Graves
but no,
to hide the
Yeah.
evidence.
Versus
Bury
like,
his
let's say
mother.
Camille, I think, was manipulative of other people as well as keeping files, etc. What's
You're not wrong.
yeah, I'm just trying to I that was just the one thing that he stood out to me where I didn't quite buy that there was any sort of reason for me to go like, okay, yeah, I guess he's gotta die.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure either, besides, the infidelity, obviously a lot of like drugs slash, yeah, don't know how much he was like selling them, because yeah, he gave Prospero a lot of drugs for the party. So clearly he was doing a bit of that.
Sure, maybe that.
And then, of course, he kills the cat and then goes and gets a new one without telling his partner.
Well, he didn't actually kill the
He
cat.
didn't. He didn't actually kill the cat.
He thought he
pussies
did.
were harmed in this.
He thought he did, and again, he covered it up like and tried to deceive his partner about what happened to the cat. I will say I don't think that any of them, what they did, deserved for them to die.
Because technically they were going to die no matter what they did.
Right.
Just like Lenore.
Like Lenore, yeah. So, like, I don't think any of their actions were deserving of them dying, but, they're kind of fucked because of what their parents did.
Maybe Freddy's.
Yeah, Freddy.
I feel like
Freddy was
kind of deserves it.
I feel like he kind of got off light, all things considered, like passed out, paralyzed in an exploding building. I was.
Yeah, it should have been slow and prolonged.
I kind of felt like Tamerlan. Like for me, I was like, okay, I'm satisfied with that. I don't.
It's a very creative death.
I feel like I don't like for
But Verna said for that was the one where she normally doesn't like get directly involved, but for that one she made an exception for Freddy because
and yeah, but it also felt really tame as sort of compared. So like with the acid death, like on the one hand it was super horrible and super awful. I felt like that one to me fit sort of my classic sense of horror justice. Like, because he literally threw a party without understanding where he is. Like, that's classic fuck around and find out in horror movies. Like, you don't go in the house uninvited. You don't, you don't go to the woods and like have premarital sex and smoke dope and do all this stuff because you're gonna get murdered because you've broken the rules. And I feel like of all of the characters in it, he's the only one who actually broke horror film rules by like throwing this decadent party in this building set to where he doesn't understand where he's going, and it's obviously based on what's going on there to all of us, in horror terms, because we're watching a horror story. We're aware that something really fucked up and bad is there, and that he's broken the cardinal rule. So it was awful and horrible, but I didn't feel a lot of sympathy for him in the way I felt for Camille, because I don't feel like Camille actually deserved to get her face ripped off by a chimpanzee. That was just uncalled for.
Yeah, that was another one of my questions, though.
And that was the last thing I watched before I jumped on. Like I watched
ruined that face
on the stream while we were talking.
I know.
About
how dare you ruin that face?
Right?
Every time, Johnny.
So there's some of the deaths that didn't, for me, feel like they fit my sense of horror film justice. And it's very steeped in the 80s, where like if you were asthmatic or in a wheelchair, Freddy Krueger was going to be very ableist in the way he dealt with you and killed you off, which wasn't necessarily justice, but fucked up ableism. But at the same time, in horror movie terms, that's how it works. I didn't feel like some of these deaths, in my opinion, fit horror justice, which of course, like, it's not, Flanagan's not going to do the tropes every time. He's going to play homage, but I don't know. I felt some of the deaths, especially the black cat, like, I don't feel like Leo deserved that outcome. It just felt cruel. So, that's sort of to jump off and run with Brick's
Yeah.
thoughts on that, right?
Johnny, you look like you have thoughts.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this as we're talking about this. Like, I don't think so. Camille's death feels like the only one that wasn't tailored to the character because because of the chimps, it feels like it would have been more for Vic than it would have been for Camille. So that one just kind of feels out.
But maybe it's the digging for dirt on somebody else kind of thing that got her into trouble.
And her two-facedness.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you got your face ripped off. Like, there's this it almost for me works within horror justice, but it just for some reason, it just feels because again, the monkey, it's a chimpanzee. The chimpanzee, let's call it by
the primate.
Let's
call
not
a spade a spade.
Let's not misspecies the orangutan.
Species.
The manchichi.
Ooh.
Anyway, no, I was about to make up something. I'm like, that could be taken as a racial comment, so we're not going to make that one. Anyway, but like, she's two-faced. Getting her face ripped off would have fit, but it just not from that primate thing creature.
Like something else ripped her
because
face off.
That wasn't her. Like if it had been like some angry like a paparazzi situation where like they caused her to crash a la Princess Diana and her face gets sliced off, flies through the air and like lands on a homeless person or something, and then they walk off.
Oh my god!
That to me would have fit. I just put that up in my head.
Think of these things.
I'm going to use that in the story, guys. So I'm going to need you to edit the stream later, Johnny, and cut that out until I get it perfect. But that's fucking bad. Anyway, I'm going to use that. I think
timestamp.
Right, timestamp. But like, it felt because the others were sort of. I mean, the others were in line. It's just for me, some of the horror justice was a little off kilter.
So I have to ask, sorry not to interrupt you, but I'm very new with horror and scary movies. Like I've watched a lot last year thanks to Tasia. I've watched a few things before that. Like I like the more like thought-provoking horror, like Midsummer and Annihilation. Like love those kind of things. But yeah, I started getting into more last year. So when you say horror justice, does that mean like their death, how most of these deaths are like related to stuff that they've done? Is that what that means?
Yeah,
or is there...
and horror, and this really started in sort of the with sort of the horror comics of the 1950s, where it was sort of fake ironic, where it's not really ironic, but we call it ironic. Where like you have a character who's very vain and very self-centered and like basically kills people or whatever because of her vanity. So at the end of like the story, she ends up having her face sliced off, or she gets some sort of debilitating disease that like eats her skin off, so she's hideously ugly and dies. Like, or gets acid in the face or whatever. So that's sort of what in the 80s, it was sort of taken to like a really over the top with like Jason and Freddy, where it's like you have a game nerd or whatever. So Freddy would use like a Nintendo to kill him or something. Like,
oh, okay.
So Camille's getting her face ripped off fits into it, just not by the monkey creature.
Stab.
Yeah, that's why I brought up these posters. I found these when I was doing the for this, because each portrait reflects the way that the character dies. So Prospero's is eaten by chemicals. Camille's is slashed by presumably claws.
That's not Freddy Krueger. That's Wolverine. Yeah. Name that movie.
Leo has the cat at the bottom.
Nope. Okay.
Stabbed in the heart with the scalpel.
Yep. Tamerlane with the glass.
She looks like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Freddy is missing half.
Sliced in half. Yeah, that slice was pretty
Her
awesome.
eyes
Oh, her
were-
eyes. Ooh.
And there's a
And the
raven.
raven.
His eye.
When were these released?
Since they say October 12th,
Oh,
I don't know.
and at the end of it, we have the very handsome, distinguished black man
Mm.
and Mark Hamill. There we go. Prime cinema.
Yes.
Like,
The zaddies.
Yeah, I mean it's spoilery, but I guess teasy. But
it's
yeah.
but it only becomes spoilery after you've watched it and you realize
Mhm.
because it's just sort of generic horror almost.
I will check that out.
You know, I was doing this as I realized in terms of the notion of this show's sense of justice. Y'all were talking about like 80s horror justice,
Yeah.
but like I forgot. It's like, oh yeah, duh. For me, at least. Sorry, I'm not.
No, you're fine.
We can collectively be duh, but like the whole premise here is that it's also like a critique of the wealthy, right? Those who sort of see other people as disposable.
Yeah.
That this entire family made their wealth by, you know, destroying countless lives, not countless, enough lives to actually make a pyramid, like a human pyramid, right?
Oh my God, the rain
And
bodies at the end.
that's where they got their wealth. And the idea of the generations is that, so like, okay, maybe the kids weren't as bad, but the idea is that they made this really clear with Prospero that every kid gets the money. They get a chunk of the money. That's how they, you know, they inherit. So it's all built on blood. And, you know, regardless of their sort of innocence in life, or it's like, this is the foundation of their existence, which is why I guess the deal from the Raven is that it's you and your like you're going to get all this stuff, but it's gonna, you know, that when you pay the price, it's going to be paid for all of your generation. Because really, it all comes down to as good as they want to be. Like there's there's a associated with the wealth, right? And then the passage of that. So like it's like, oh yeah,
your
I think that's where
have consequences. Dirty money is dirty money.
And your class and your sort of this notion of like that, I think that's where the sort of, at least under the premise of the writing, that is where the sense of justice comes from, which is unfortunate because, and it's not a super black and white, like, you know, class warfare, because at the end of the day, the Raven tells Lenore, like, hey, you and your mom did something different because of this. They took the wealth and they gave it away, and they did good things with the wealth and the resources. So
the rest of it, and Juno dissolves it and turns it into drug rehabilitation. Like
she weans herself off of the Ligadone.
So like the notion that the wealth could be, there's an alternate reality where these wealth and these resources could actually be used in positive, pro-social
and then there's
ways.
Sort of the meta commentary of like Lenore and her mother, the two black women who have saved the world. Black women stepping up again to save everyone. So
yeah, it's ultimately woke, so I just have to write off the whole thing. Sorry, guys. That's it. That's what.
Oh no! How dare!
Gina,
the
recovering drug addict, disability person who like actually has her own mobility at the end. And
oh my God! And how everyone. I really hated how everyone treated her. It pissed me off.
Juno?
Like, I will say,
and she was so funny. I loved her.
Juno was. I did kind of giggle when she got brained during the gold bug. I was like, "Oh my God, it got her!" I was afraid Juno.
Oh, the other brained got it.
Yeah. I know there's so many brains that we actually saw.
Yeah.
I was thinking. Well, I was actually thinking of Leo's infidelity, but sorry. The whole the class sort of like part of it. I got to say that like I appreciated that on multiple levels, but also like Edgar Allan Poe was very much about like sort of doing these send-ups of royalty and the privilege in his books as well, of just sort of like taking the piss out of the aristocracy and sort of showing how petty and horrible they can be, at least through satire and writing, right? And so I kind of liked that. like I've seen some people be like, oh, why, what is this? Is this just about Trump, or was this like, is this just SJW, whatever? And in some ways I could
Wait,
see how
people
someone could
thought
see it
this
that way,
show was that?
but it's also
What?
very appropriate to the use of Edgar Allan Poe's writing. That's all I wanted to say. It felt like, oh yeah, that's very much in keeping with Poe and his work. So
It's not woke anytime you make commentary on rich people being awful because
yeah, because you're a
That's not that
commie.
hard to do.
yeah, you're a commie. And you want people to have,
But speaking of Poe, do we want to get into the Poe of it all?
No,
Delve a
yeah.
little
Let's
deeper? Nope.
There's a couple
Okay.
other things I want to talk about before.
We don't have to go in that order that I sent you, Johnny. That's just things to cover.
Yeah,
Oh, but
no,
okay, but I know you don't want to go to the Poe thing, but are you going to go through like the titles and stuff?
No, there's just a couple of things I want to talk about in individual episodes that I noticed.
Because I have a question about Goldbug specific to the Poe-ness.
Yeah, we'll get to
There's
Poe.
no
It's not
order
that I
we
don't...
need. There's no
Got it.
order we need to do.
But let's do this. So Madeline, what was the deal with the wig? Like I think whatever.
Oh, I
if
was
there
wondering that too.
Symbolism to that, it went over my head. Is it just like
I didn't figure that out either.
Okay, so I'm not alone.
As someone who knows
remind me what was
hair and
under
makeup,
it?
the
Just
same length of hair,
Yeah,
just not bangs.
Yeah, it was just
She had
fuller,
long gray
like...
hair. Her wig was like gray with black and bangs, and then she took it off, and it was long gray hair. Like it looked
with no bangs.
great. With no bangs.
I thought her regular hair was like a platinum blonde. I thought the wig was like platinum blonde.
No, the wig was gray.
Huh.
Well, I mean,
well, technically it was fake gray, but gray.
Okay.
I have no idea. I was wondering that too. I was like, why? You have such great hair. Why wear this wig? And I don't know, maybe just add more hair. Because also, anyone who's thought about getting bangs knows it is a trial and tribulation, a whole thing. And sometimes your parents force you into it and you really don't want it.
And
anyways,
was it said are Roderick and Madeline twins?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
That could be another explanation for the particular closeness the two of them had.
Like twin telepathy.
Yeah.
But also, yes, the notion is that they came into the world together, so they would leave the world together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, indeedy.
Okay. Yeah, those were the only other things I wanted to specifically call out. Aside from Jesus fucking Christ, the jump scare in the 6th episode when Tamerlan like flies through the fucking window when he's talking to Augie, like when he hallucinates that.
Oh
that
God, yeah, that was scary. Yeah, that got me. Okay. And that's the thing is like it's not like there's like a ghost, like it's not like there's a haunting, it's not like there's like a scary clown. It's just these, I mean, they are haunting him, but they're also his hallucinations, Rod's hallucinations. I almost called him Pod again.
Podrick.
But it's just these deaths are so horrific that makes them scary. And then, you know, there's a lot of scary elements in the show. There's the jump scares, there's the Raven, there's the music, there's lots of different things. But ultimately, it's just scary because of its circumstances. Obviously, there's the supernatural element of Verna, but that makes it more like fantasy-y than scary-y. I don't know. It's interesting. It was an interesting concept to me, and it was kind of similar with Midnight Club. Like, yes, there was a bit of, is this place haunted or not? But mostly it was their scary stories that they told that were the scary element of the show.
Right.
Anyways, just my thoughts. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
I had a question about Goldbug only because that was
yeah.
actually one of those that I don't know. I don't know that story,
It's more of
Goldbug.
an adventure story than it is one of Poe's horror. It was in his lifetime his most popular and most read
Okay.
story. It's more of an
Yeah.
adventure about
Yeah, it was a little sketchy when I read the plot.
yeah, like it's got some. I mean, definitely some portrayals of African Americans and
Yeah.
Black people that we would not that are racist. Let's just say it.
Yeah,
It's
just
racist.
yeah, it's white supremacy.
Um,
But I guess I wanted to
Interesting.
know if any of you know, because oftentimes they'll take stories or parts of titles in them and they're actually connected to sort of what happens. Is there
yeah, well,
something in the way that this, because that was the what happens to Tamerlane and all that the events in this thing, I just wasn't sure what story they were referencing. Is it from the
yeah, and
story
Goldbug.
Goldbug?
I have no idea.
The main character, is trying to find the gold bug because the gold bug is like the key to a cryptogram that like helps reveal where Captain Kidd hid the treasure or whatever.
Oh,
So, but he basically his pursuit of it becomes sort of like his sanity is questioned and he becomes sort of irrational in his pursuit of
got
it
it.
and like fanatical and obsessive. So like
Hmm.
so
Makes sense.
thematically like her storyline fits with like
Got
the
it.
story of Goldbug without and she has a couple like I don't yeah, I mean obviously they just sort of pretended like let's just not touch any of the racism, but like it was a pretty successful story.
I
I
just didn't
read
know
it
it,
as
so
a
that makes sense.
teenager and in the 80s I was like this is definitely racist. We were able to be more racist as a society
I guess,
without
but it's the 80s, so it's
yeah,
cool.
right. It was shitty in the 80s. We just, yeah. Anyway, I've never cared for it for
I
that
remember it
reason. I
well.
haven't. I actually tried to go back and reread Poe throughout this process, and it just love you, Edgar. You did some good things, but you're kind of boring. It's not like trying to get fucking through H.P. Lovecraft. Jesus, no, there is not a single piece of prose that he will not turn pure purple, and like, I mean, he obviously both of these men obviously got paid by the word. So,
So, Brick, to answer your question, Tamerlane's death, it comes from 1839's William T. Wilson, which is what Bill, his name comes from for built and everything.
Built.
The site that Kayla sent me the last time, Entertainment Weekly, did a thing about like all the references. It says William T. Wilson is about a man who meets someone that strangely looks like him and later becomes his actual doppelganger, a premise that reflects Tamerlane's story and eventual death in the series. So it kind of comes from that. It seems.
Yeah, so that's the reference to the prostitute, Verna, right? Okay.
The prosty.
The prosty. It also sounds like you could be saying like prostate. Could work for either.
It just depends on what you're willing to pay and what they're willing to do.
Yeah.
Ew.
Do you want to Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I meant to read up on more of the Poe stuff, but didn't happen. So I'm counting on you guys to fill me in on all the connections and also that article I sent you, Johnny.
Yeah, that article covers quite a bit of the stuff. Do we want to get into the general Poe of it, or do we want to talk about specifically about Pym before we go into the general Poe stuff?
Yeah, we have Pym and then New Year's to deal with. I mean, Pym's deal is pretty quick, but very interesting about this like transglobe expedition that he went on. And apparently, shit happened, which I mean makes sense if you're traveling across the world and by foot, right? That was the whole premise.
No, I think it was airship, like dirigible.
Oh, blimp. It was. Okay. I missed some of that somehow. But yeah, interesting that. And then yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but his deal with Verna and how, I mean, there wasn't a deal, but basically like yeah, there was nothing for him to like leverage to make a deal. So he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. But it's interesting that Verna talks to him after everything. Like, I understand Verna talking to Mads and Rod, but like, I guess that was just out of circumstance because Pym tried to kill her, even though, can't kill someone who's not there.
I don't think so. She seemed like she said that she was looking forward to talking to him. Like she admired his work.
Okay.
I think she wanted to talk to him. She wanted to meet with him and talk to him.
Yeah, I thought so too. Because first off, like that whole thing was a real thing, right? That whatever trans globe expedition, right? And it was this like rich dude who and other people was like, we're gonna have adventure and we're just gonna go on this expedition, and it was touted as this big, like, something like back in the day. I don't know, you've seen Up, right? That guy in Up who goes on, it's very something like that, but done in like the late 70s, where it was like, we're gonna circle the globe longitudinally, and it was like this big thing. But what was left out were the sort of actual stories of what happens on these things. And again, similar to, I'm assuming what I'm reading into is the sort of like this story sense of justice, this notion of like people using other people. And they mentioned like the Inuit woman and all these other things that happen, the cannibalism, like all of that gets erased from the official glorious story. And I don't know if I'm making this up now, but I had the sense that maybe those were like people that were part of her, other people that were her clients, I guess. Not that Pym was, but whoever was maybe running the expedition or something. Like, it just seemed like,
it definitely seemed like one of them.
Rich things.
No? I don't think so, because she said that said the extravagance of the expedition is what convinced her to come topside. So I don't think she had any clients or had talked to anybody before that. Also, Kayla, I was wrong. It says the Transglobe expedition from 1979 to 1982 was the first expedition to make longitudinal circumnavigation of Earth using only surface transport. So it was not by
versus
air.
the dirigible. Yeah, those were like the old school, like the guy from Up. But
yes,
no. But as far as, I don't think that's true,
make me
though,
cry.
because the pictures of her were pre-1979.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting, though, that not so much in Poe, more so in Lovecraft.
Oh, you mean about her being topside? Okay,
yeah, but
sorry.
More Lovecraft. Often those stories started with like ocean liners and are like unlocking some horrible eldritch horror. So like that almost feels like a trope. Or her not coming topside, maybe like she didn't quite manifest quite the same way before that. I don't know. Like, it's interesting.
I sort of
that.
Yeah, because they're.
Go ahead.
Or maybe she only
there were some
topside once in a while.
Maybe there were some really old pictures. You're right, Brick. They would have been before 79.
Yeah, because there's no way. Like, I mean, like,
I just wasn't sure exactly what she meant by coming up topside. Does that mean like so? My sense is like she walks among us to make these deals with these people, and that's what I sort of see. The pictures were her getting close to these people to take pictures, or maybe to do what we saw, where she's like cleaning up business and bringing things to a close, like she did with this family. But the notion of coming topside could mean not so much that I was here, but more so like, oh, I'm literally just watching. I wasn't even involved in this. You guys were just horrible, and you did that all on your own.
Maybe.
And that was fascinating to me. I didn't even have to make a deal. I'm just going to come check you crazy rich people out and do your thing. Like, that's kind of, but
because
she probably was. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
She says something too about like, she implies that Pym saw her in the Arctic.
Yeah, she was like, oh, you don't remember me?
Yeah. What were you going to say, Kayla?
Basically, I can't remember.
Okay.
Well, yeah, with Pym, I think
I'll remember in like a few minutes.
What was fascinating is this notion that like, oh, I think why she talked to him is because, like you said, she's intrigued by him. So similarly to, I guess, what she's saying about the Transglobe expedition. Like, wow, they're really just kind of doing this thing. And I think she's intrigued by trying to understand maybe him, like, because he actually
and like human
being a
nature.
servant to all of these people and doing these
Mm-hmm.
horrible things. And I got this sense that she was pointing out to him, like, you saw what they did and you weren't good with it. Like, you didn't participate. Like, there was some things that you kind of alluded to.
Yep.
And yet you're still doing this. So I think that's where she's kind of like, figure this guy out. Like, why is he doing this?
It's an interesting human / psychological experiment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the character is fascinating. Like, I'd watch a series based on that character. Man, Mark Hamill fucking killed it. He was amazing.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Like, it was so cool
good.
seeing him do something so different than like Luke Skywalker or the Joker.
Well, you know, like, go back and watch. I don't know if it's, and this is the problem. Mark Hamill did those of us who spend a lot of time watching shitty cable movies and VHS,
Guyver was good.
Mark Hamill did a lot of really like, he was in John Carpenter's Body Bags, where he was very much not Luke Skywalker. He did a lot of sort of direct to video, direct to cable sort of stuff that not as well written in media as this was, but like he's shown some range. It's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of, it's not technically missing media. It's just because of the way all of these small companies that would release these movies often work. They've gone out, like Canon went out of business and got, their library was purchased. But there are films in the Canon library, like, that for, like, cost nothing to make and aren't really going to make a lot of money, that would be really expensive for these streaming services to, like, get the rights to stream them, just because of the way, like, the ownership is, and like like the royalties to, like, whoever wrote them might be. I mean, it was more than something's going to make. So there's a lot of Mark Hamill's work that people are just not aware happened. But if you go look at his IMDb, like, the man has consistently worked since Star Wars. Obviously a lot of it's voiceover work, but he's done, like, in-camera stuff as well, where it's like he's really, like, I remember there was a movie where he was like a really, like, evil serial killer type that was really, where it wasn't a good movie, but he was really good in it. He was really good in Body Bags. I remember that. That was the first time I remember seeing Mark Hamill do something that wasn't Luke Skywalker. And there was that in that World War II movie he did right after, it was released after Empire Strikes Back. I don't know if he filmed it before or after.
What is happening?
Anyway.
Johnny.
I pulled up a list. I pulled up a list of the Canon Group films, and I read the title of one is "The Happy Hooker Goes to Washington." So,
the Happy Hooker movies. Yep, I used to watch all of those on cable after my parents would go to bed. She was very happy.
Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe. A bunch of Schwarzenegger movies, which people have actually. Those people will pay for because we'll watch Arnie and
American Ninja.
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
I loved when I was younger. I loved the fucking American Ninja movies.
There was the one with the girl from Breakin', right? Lucinda Dickey, was that her name? She was a ninja, American Ninja. I think it was her.
Anyway, back to House of Usher. What were we talking about? Mark Hamill as Pym being awesome. Yeah, I'd watch a whole Arthur Gordon Pym nefarious attorney at law series.
That would be great.
Also, like, his gruffy voice is just great,
and his fucking attitude, just like sitting there doing the crossword while Augie's doing his opening statement. Yeah.
Is great.
That was awesome.
New Year's 1980.
Yeah.
So did anyone predict that was going to be killing Griswold? Because I did.
No, I wasn't sure.
As soon as they showed Griswold, I was like, that's who they're killing, because that's how they take over.
Sure.
Yeah, as soon as they showed him in the jester outfit, I was like, oh, fuck, that's what it is.
Well, I mean, that was the easy tell.
Yeah. But I did write
Especially
at the
with
very beginning. I was like,
ding-a-linging.
I'm not convinced this club is real. The bar that they were sitting in.
And
Well,
it
I mean,
wasn't.
sort of looks like at the end of it wasn't when they have their oh
They're
my
out.
god, it's all boarded up and spray painted. Good alibi there, kids.
Which they were
Oh
saying
wait, that
how
was
they were
that
like,
was
we
earlier.
were
Sorry.
drunk or high. Like probably, I'm like, you don't hallucinate.
See, yeah, again, this is where I
Unless it's
think
LSD's
we're
high, but like
unsure.
it sounded, yeah.
Where I think it's not clear as to whether or not they actually believed it or not, because she goes back pretty early in the show. I forget where exactly, but she goes to look at that place and finds that
Yeah,
it's
she does.
not there,
Mhm.
right? Or does she? Or does she send Pin?
She does. She does go
No,
there.
she
No,
yeah, she goes there. She gets out
Yeah.
of the car, and then
That's the first time we see it.
He does research on it, and I think he comes back and he says he finds no
Bar.
There's no
record of there
bar.
ever being a bar or
That's right.
Or her.
anything like that in that 10-block radius. You know, on
5-mile radius.
yeah, he's fucking
Ooh.
thorough.
Yeah,
Him
he's
is
very
thorough.
thorough. I mean, he also uses the AI technology that Madeline creates too, as he mentions, but also fuck AI.
He's a good man, Jeffrey, and thorough.
AI. Anyway, yeah, the New Year's thing, I didn't predict it, but like in hindsight, I don't know if at that point I was like, oh, I know who's gonna die, because who else would die, really, right? Like who else would be important to the story? But just, I like, again, that was one of my favorite the stories that for whatever reason stuck out to me as a kid. Just the notion of like these two people who are kind of like, oh, are they hanging out? Are they friendly? What's going on? And being sort of like walled up. And the other image of like them trying to dig out was always sort of fascinating. So it's kind of neat to sort of see it play out, especially with the dynamic between him and Madeline and everything else that they'd set up based on their previous interactions, right? Like, you know, his horrible like meeting with her, trying to like get in her pants and just treating her like total shit. And then
yeah,
it was really well done.
Yeah, and then her putting the brick in, you are so small. Oof, for him to just stare at.
Yep. And the use of the song,
which
too,
is
pretty early on.
interesting because Annabelle calls her that too. Like, you are
Calls
so
her-
small. Or says you are so small to her.
Oh my god. Okay, it just clicked.
The
The
Pink Floyd.
actress who plays Camille is the wife of Flanagan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had never.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
Hello,
Yeah,
Derek.
he did well
Derek.
for him.
Yeah. Well, they also
Yes,
did Hush
he
together.
did.
That was why I was like.
Come back and watch
that's-
the 2 streams after you've seen it, Derek.
And definitely check
there.
out Confessions Part 2. That's my favorite song. I think in terms of just the whole dynamic of the cat and mouse kind of like, oh, let's go downstairs, or no one here, like I like that whole setup. Even though it was like, oh yeah, they're gonna kill him, I was still kind of like, oh, this is gonna be fun to watch how this is all gonna play out.
Yeah.
And I
It was a
didn't
very fascinating way to do all of that, and like very well thought out.
I didn't clock either that, or I didn't realize. Remember, like when they went into the bar, Verna notices their fingers had like cement. I knew like, oh yeah, they're burning someone, and I put that together early on, but completely forgot about it till we got then. And I didn't go like, oh yeah, they're gonna do the thing to him now for some reason.
Yeah, they focused on him and they were like just kind of powdering. And I'm like, what were they fucking doing? Cocaine or something? Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't put it together. I didn't know. Sorry, if they were gonna, I didn't know that they were gonna like trap him in the wall and murder him.
Oh, I did, because
I thought
Enchilada is my favorite. That is that and the Telltale Heart are my 2 favorite Poe stories.
Well, I knew that they were gonna do the cask and that someone was gonna be in that brick wall. I didn't figure that it was gonna be Griswold. I knew they were gonna take Griswold down somehow and like take over Fortunato, because they had to get there somehow. I didn't know if
Yeah.
it was after Roderick and Augie did the stuff with him going in and getting the documents and whatnot. I didn't know if they were gonna like plant evidence or something that was gonna get Griswold out, but it's Poe. I should have thought of murder.
Well,
Yeah, and that was another thing I was going to ask too, is did we think that what they did that night was murder?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
consider it unjustified, but it was murder.
Do you mean? Sorry, were you asking if what they did was considered murder, or like when they first?
No.
When we didn't know what they did.
When we didn't know what they
that
did,
they were doing murder?
did we assume they were doing murder?
Because I think all of us were like
doing the murder.
Kayla, I think we need to explain murder to you.
Well,
Yes.
I mean,
I may be young. I know what murder is.
I wasn't surprised at all because, like it is Cask of Amontillado. It's also the first Poe story I read. I had like one of those little illustrated. Like one of my grandparents gave me the illustrated classics, and they're like, it's got Huck Finn and you've got that Huckleberry Pie Strawberry Shortcake doll, so you're gonna love that. And Little Women's in there. Fuck those little bitches. Anyway, I read the Poe and the Frankenstein, and the Poe like Cask of Amontillado. It was the shortest story in the little book, so that's why I read it first. And I mean, it's obviously sanitized because it's illustrated classics for children. But the reason he kills like bricks him up in the wall is for some sort of I mean, I always took it that he was made it up in his head, but for some sort of slight that his family did to the narrator's family, and like not even something he himself may have done, something like that had happened generations before. So he then bricks him up. And I mean, it doesn't help that the guy in the story is kind of like a drunken clog. Like, so he's very uncouth and very horrible. So even as a kid, I was like, well, like, it's probably not good to do it, but I get it.
I get it.
Like 11 or 12, and I'm like, I can sympathize with you, Tanya. I mean, guy bricking this guy up behind the wall, like, so I wasn't surprised at all. It felt apropos. Anyway.
Two things.
All the dads watching.
I was waiting for someone to make that joke.
all the dads just lost their shit and shit themselves.
Two things. First off, I again, when I saw the dirt or the things on their hands, I assumed that it was murder. I think I made some connection because I know that I was waiting for that story to happen. But the other reason I thought that was because it was tied to them burying their mom. Like it felt very like a callback to them, we're hiding this thing. We did this thing. We don't want to tell anyone. And then it's like, oh, we did this thing again. And we don't want to tell anyone. The
first time they fucked around and found out.
And so, yeah. And then the other thing was the brick thing. Brick. But they played that song.
I know. I made that in my notes.
Early.
Brick.
Like early on, they played Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. That was like, is also kind of this sort of like class critique or authority critique. And that was for Camille. But then, yeah, and then they literally put him in the brick, which I liked, and I love the tie of the actual brick with the thing.
I'm just doing it now because you laugh every time.
Put a brick in the chat for Brick.
Oh no, you're just another brick in the wall.
He's a brick and I'm drowning slowly. What?
He said. Do you know the story behind that? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
another time.
I love it. It was my favorite Christmas song for years.
Anyways.
Okay.
Nice.
Moving on. So yeah. Any other thoughts about what they did New Year's 1980? How they did it?
I mean, I give them props. They were pretty clever. Like they didn't need Pym back in the day. They just knew, let's be seen. Let you go talk to someone.
Because it was before the deal.
Yeah, it was before the deal.
And the bravado of youth when you think you can do it all on your own. And
entitlement.
That's crazy.
Without demonic intervention. Amateurs.
It's a lot. It's
But-
like a lot of certain people these days.
I will say I felt, a little like sympathetic for them too, because it was like there was this notion that their mom was a secretary of this rich CEO that got her pregnant, and like all of that was really messed up. So it's not like they're unsympathetic characters, but
still doesn't justify murder. Allison.
Allegedly, we neither condone. Wait. Let me get. I need to get.
Okay, the ukulele.
I gotta get the podcast mic.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess, neither confirms neither condones nor defies. No, I don't condone murder, even if they have it coming.
Carl.
Carl and Karen.
Let the record show I am merely standing here.
Johnny.
It's gone. I don't remember what I was going to say.
Oh no!
Oh no, I
My
killed
brain,
it.
my
I murdered
brain
the
part
thought.
has rubbed off on you.
Oh no, that's
I'll
why
be right.
that's why Roderick was so big on the open door policy or whatever, however he referred to it. Like, if you're an usher, you're an usher. I'm not like disavowing any of my children. Like, they're all, come on
They're
over.
all my children.
I've
Well,
got
the
like
more
7
kids,
extra bedrooms.
Soap opera.
Yeah. So.
One Life to Live.
Okay.
What are other soap operas?
Like
Someone name
sands
one.
through the hourglass.
Yes,
Go on
these are the
days
days
of
of our
our
lives. Robotech.
So, what do you want to do next, Kayla?
Do you want to talk about the last note at all?
Yeah. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be long, just getting people's opinions. So what do you guys think of Bruce Greenwood as Roderick Usher? Because I remembered that originally
Yes,
Frank Langella Langella
I
Skeletor
wanted
was
to talk about that too.
cast in the
because
role, but was
because
fired because of allegations that came out against him.
Okay, so I'm glad because I do want to
Shame.
talk about. Well, okay, so do we remember what the actual original allegation was versus sort of the like gloss over it? Okay, so the original
I
allegation,
have no idea.
as explained, but Frank Langella was originally supposed to play Roderick,
And it was pretty. They had to
Like,
reshoot
older?
like half the series.
they were pretty far into it, and he got fired after an intimate scene with the actress who plays his wife. Okay, the younger wife, not like
Juno,
right?
Oh.
So the original allegation was he was after they yelled cut, he reached over and fondled her leg, and she like left really quickly. And then afterwards he gets fired, and then he writes this big thing about like intimacy coaches and goes on. It sounds like a boomer complaining that he got called out, right? Appropriately, like, cut, the scene's over, you don't touch her, right? But he touched her leg. The actress is missing a leg. She has a prosthetic. So I'm just gonna throw it down. Like, if he had touched her on the arm, that may have gone across way differently for her than reaching. Like, did he touch the? Like, I want to be really respectful.
The fake leg.
Let's think about if you touch the prosthetic leg.
I was going to say, were you about to say prosty? But anyway,
No, I was gonna say prosthetic. I'm just trying to like couch it.
Prosty can use 3 ways: prostitute, prostate, prosthetic.
I don't want to pose this question in a way that comes across as sensationalistic or demeaning.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Because if you touch her prosthetic,
I mean, does it matter?
It does. Okay, picture. Here's the thing. She does a lot of work as a disabled activist, bringing awareness to like sort of the extra issues you face in life. If you touch her on the prosthetic, like after cut, there's the potential for that to come across as fetishizing or not on the level of touching a Black woman's hair.
Yeah,
but in that spirit of like a fetishization or a demeaning, dehumanizing, but and the same if he touches the real leg but not. So there's a way more. Once remembered that he got fired because Bruce Greenwood, super hot, for an old guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still 20 years older than me at my advanced age. So, so hot.
Not advanced.
The first time I've ever thought the word granddad,
Daddy?
yeah,
Zaddy.
like grand
Zaddy.
zaddy or whatever. But that's completely
Grand
like,
Admiral Zaddy.
because at first I was just like, and again, this is maybe me like sort of being older and sort of jaded and like where sexual harassment was just part of your life. And you just accepted it if you didn't like put fingers in things. Like, well, it wasn't that bad. It was just a goose on the butt or whatever, right? It's not right. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's some of us have some decompression and some healing to do. But when I realized it was an actress who has a prosthetic, my mind instantly was like, there's a whole different level beyond just regular inappropriate touching that lands there. That like, and for the way he acted, like it's clear why he got fired, because even his letter was like, I've been canceled for, and like sort of went on this rant. And I instantly, once I realized it was her and like remembered he was the one, that was what he got fired for. I was like, oh my fucking God, like there is a different layer to what he did that he
was extra.
Acknowledge. He didn't even acknowledge that. It was all about, like actors and actresses, there needs to be some intimacy. It's like, this is, and that's her second role. She's not an actress that's been acting for her whole life. She's did Midnight.
It was just Midnight
She's
Club.
So crazy. She's so good. Especially Midnight Club.
So not only is he like, and this is my hot take and I'll be done. Not only was he a gross, inappropriate old dude in that moment, he completely overlooked that she is a brand new actress who is not familiar at all. Like maybe an actress who's been at it 20, 30 years would have come across, because she's more aware of how things, like can get loose after filming. So in my opinion, super shitty elder actor who should be teaching young actors and actresses better behavior, some disability, like ableism shit, and just being a gross old dude. All that was missing was his ukulele. I'm done.
So
sorry, Johnny, real quick. When I asked if it mattered, I thought for a hot second you were gonna go into it didn't matter because it was her fake leg, so it wasn't harassment.
No, God, no.
And I was like, Allison, what's happening?
No.
So no, but once you said that, I was like, oh, okay, it's another level. Like I was gonna make the same example. It's like touching a black woman's hair, like or black person's hair. You don't do that. Like you don't touch a disabled person's like fake leg. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I knew there was that distinction, but okay, anyway, sorry, Johnny.
From what I read, that was not the only thing that led to his dismissal. There was also reports of multiple like inappropriate, like dirty jokes and racist comments that he made on set that made other actors and actresses uncomfortable. So it was
he's been playing the
culmination
of Goldberg card for a while, right?
Yeah, it was the culmination of all of those things put together that led to him being fired. But like, I also can't and maybe it's because I've watched the whole series with Bruce as Roderick. I can't picture Frank as Roderick. Like, especially considering he's like, not to be ageist, but the way that they played it, like Frank's 85. I think he's too old for the role compared to Bruce. Cause like, it didn't seem like.
How old is Bruce?
I looked it up because I was having a hard time questioning Henry Thomas being young enough to be
67.
67?
Yeah, he's.
Oh my God.
Well, and the characters were born allegedly, and I don't know if they changed this to like accommodate the new casting, but I don't think they recast the sister.
No, because
Mary
she's
McDonald.
71, and she's from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, which is like 2 hours from me.
70.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
so she was born in
President
52.
Roslin.
Yep. And Greenwood was born in 56. So
that's my
typical
mom's
Hollywood,
age.
they were casting twins, and they still cast a woman much younger than the man in the original casting. Anyway,
I just
Interesting.
I think on that note, Johnny, especially because of the younger version of him,
Yeah.
I saw more of a through line between him to the current actor. Yeah, I also thought it was weird when I saw that. I was like, "Oh, that'd be strange to go to Frank Langella." So
Yeah.
ooh, Skeletor, you naughty, nasty
I didn't
old
realize that was
man.
Skeletor.
I'm sorry.
you nasty.
Yeah.
I was wondering
Allegedly.
why. Was wondering. Johnny added this as something we could talk about, and I was like, okay, like I get that that's a thing, but like I did not know he was Skeletor.
He
I was
was
like, oh,
to
okay.
clarify, he was Skeletor in only in the live action Masters of
Yeah.
the Universe movie in the 80s. It's nothing to do with Skeletor aside from that. We're
In
not
the
talking
Canon Pictures film,
Alan
yes.
Oppenheimer here. We're just talking about the live action movie with Dolph Lundgren.
Okay.
as
Wait,
He-Man.
Alan Oppenheimer, was that his name?
That's the voice
The
of
voice?
Skeletor in the
Yeah.
film. Yeah, Alan Oppenheimer. Yes.
Johnny knows his shit.
Yeah.
That's what they tell me.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we get into that's what they said?
Did we cover all
Overall.
the post stuff, the overall post stuff?
I don't know. Is there more post stuff? I wouldn't know.
My general thought is because when they announced that they were doing this, because the Fall of the House of Usher is a 12-page story.
Hey.
I thought it was really clever to use that as the framework to adapt a bunch of Poe's work into one series.
Agreed.
I really liked the way, and I could see coming back to this every now and again for a rewatch, or maybe even just coming to watch individual episodes to get like
I would just watch episode 2 for no reason in particular.
And I haven't yet gone back and done rewatches of like either Hill House or Bly Manor or any of the other.
I'm currently rewatching because my roommate has not seen. Well, we watched Midnight Club, but she hasn't seen any of the other ones, so we're watching Hill House right now.
Which I miss, because both. Let me get their names right. Rahul and Tania are in this from Bly Manor. I miss Victoria Perdetti. Bring her back to a project. I haven't seen her on my screen. It's been too long.
Oh, I love her.
It's been
we
a long
love her
time.
in You as well.
Yes.
She is a queer icon. Fucking love her.
I just saw an ad with her. She did like an audio book, like an erotic fiction audio thing that she was recording for.
I'm sorry, what is it called?
Pull up her Wikipedia. You'll find it.
You mean
Pause
IMDb?
the stream.
Pause. I'm sorry, you just put Victoria in erotic novel in a sentence. We need a pause.
Yes, origin. No, that's not it. Hang on.
Orgy?
No.
Question mark? Also, she's 2 years younger than me. That is crazy tits.
And she's from Philadelphia, which is like 4 hours from me. Like all these people are coming up that like are from Pennsylvania, and it's awesome.
And a playground is where she spent most.
Did you
of
say
her
it's
days.
Origin?
No, that's
Wait,
a movie that
what's the
she's
movie?
in.
Upcoming projects? Pony Boy?
A couple
That's
of guys, they
insane.
were up to no good.
It
Started
follows an
making trouble in
intersex
her
sex
neighborhood.
worker as they
Got in
fight
one
for
little fight and her
survival in
mom
New
got
Jersey
scared.
after a
She's
drug deal that
living
goes
with her
wrong
aunt.
upsets the equilibrium of their existence. There's a lot that just happened.
It's called Compromised. It's by Quinn. Quinn is the. It's
That's
Try
ironic.
Quinn on Instagram. Yeah, love Quinn. Yes.
Just send it to me.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, so I thought it was a really clever way to tie all the different, like, I thought Brick's screen was bleeding. Like, it is, kind
I
of.
know.
I thought
He
there was
did that
like,
before, and I thought he had some effect
oh,
that was
okay.
happening. I was
Yeah.
like, what the dick?
So,
dick?
yeah, I thought it was a really
What the
clever
dick?
way to do, like, the adaptation and using House of
Yeah.
Usher as a framework and working in all the other post stuff. I really dug that. Brick, what
I
about you?
did too. I was very impressed by that. Like I said, when you all were talking about it, I think we were talking about Ahsoka, and you
I think it was
mentioned it.
Ahsoka, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was a thing, and I assumed it was like, oh, the Fall of House of Usher. That's interesting. It's like I remember it, the story itself, and I also remember from this old book, The Martian Chronicles. There was a novella in there, or like a little short story in there called "Fall of the House of Usher." But yeah, I love that they kind of found this way to tie in all these different post stories into it, and just thought that was super well done. Even from like the titles, even though it was like maybe a little spoilery or whatever, but it was kind of fun to sort of see that through. And some of them were a little bit maybe too on the nosy, like I don't know, maybe not. I think The Simpsons ruined the Raven for me is what it is. So I see the text nevermore, like, and I just keep thinking Bart Simpson is a Raven, but ultimately I thought it was ultimately actually super cool. I like the use of the AI Nevermore thing, Lenore being like his love, just really
Which
cool.
I did not see what she was typing until I just watched the last episode again just now, and I was able to stand next to my TV screen and read it because from my bed you could not read that. And also I was like on my phone watching too, so I was like, oh, Nevermore, okay, that all checks out. But I guess in typical watch rewatch fashion, I did not have the previous Poe expertise, and I feel like it was amazing without it. So that's my perspective.
Which I think ultimately speaks to the quality of some of those stories, despite the weird, racist stuff and other things in it. But like I said, there was this cool class sort of analysis that I've always seen in Poe's sort of send-ups of certain things, like even the cask of Amontillado. There's, they're talking about people with like who have a wine cellar and stuff. So, or those big, wealthy gala ball type things.
You insulted my family's good honor. I shall break you up with wine.
It's like, who does that? Certain people do.
Crazy
and
people.
So I don't know. I thought all of that was great to put that in the modern context with like the send up of the Trump family and what's the name of the opioid family? The
Kardashians?
No. Anyways, yeah, and sort of talking about that corporation, or even they mentioned Monsanto, or
they talked about the Koch brothers.
They showed the Koch brothers. Yeah, they talked about the Koch brothers and all of that stuff woven in. Where on the one hand, I'm sure people are like, "Oh, it's a little on the nose," but it's like, no, it's actually fully appropriate to sort of the way this story is being told, and I dug it, I appreciated it.
No, I never, and and people do, like it was in 10, 15 years when people like rediscover television after society recovers from the collapse that we're headed toward, and they watch it. It's not going to seem at all on the nose to them in the same way it does to us, because all of those people will be dead and most of our history will be gone, and all that will be left is what we've the media we've left. So like it's good that some stuff is on the nose, so that the aliens and the generations who rise up from like the post-apocalyptic debris of like the United States and the entire world can actually get some context for the world that we lived in. We've got to leave something for these kids.
Got to leave something behind.
Is anybody familiar with the Reign of Fire? Sorry, it's a post-apocalyptic thing, but anyways, in one scene, they reenact Star Wars, but retelling the kids Star Wars, because
I feel like it's a movie, right?
Yeah, it's with I want to say Batman,
Christian Bale, Matthew
Yeah,
McConaughey,
and Matthew
Christian
McConaughey.
Bale.
that's
What
why
the fuck?
What?
And they
I
reenact Star
remember
Wars.
this movie.
I don't
I
watch
probably
anything with
haven't
Christian
watched
Bale
it
When
since
did this come
2002.
out?
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
Oh, that was before
Interesting.
Christian Bale was ruined for me, so maybe I can watch.
When was he ruined for you, Allison?
Well, honestly, it started with Newsies when he put that ball cap on and started singing. It was around American Psycho when I wasn't sure how much of that was acting and
American
how much was
Psycho.
Christian Bale. And
Stop doing that. It's freaking me out.
And
Alexander Siddig is in it too.
I also didn't care for any of those movies that he did that the kids liked.
Batman?
Okay.
Yeah, those. I didn't like
No.
those movies. I watched 1.5 of those, and I got halfway through the Joker, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch a movie with a Joker who looks like a mummy with some lipstick on, like. And then there's the whole like, what's her face from Scientology and Tom Cruise's separate bed. So.
Katie Holmes.
Yeah, that.
So I love Chris Nolan, so I loved the movies, but
I'm glad. I love that for you.
I was naive.
I totally thought you were referencing.
I love all of the rest of Chris Nolan's works, but Batman in particular, when I go back and watch it now, especially because I did not watch 89 or Returns until recently in the past couple years. So I love those movies.
Once you go
so
back
now watching, exactly.
The rest can just be burned.
Like if I was a child at the time, I'd be like, "Oh yes, this is my bisexual awakening for sure."
Catwoman affected many of us in that way. It was the first time I'm like, leather and skin.
Because for me, it was Pretty Little Liars and Gossip Girl.
I haven't watched either of those. I think I'm outside of that demo though.
Yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, watching any of the Batman trilogy now, I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. Like I still like them, but I feel like I view them under a different lens now. Whereas like the rest of his work, love Interstellar, love Tenet, love.
Yeah, see, I just looked up his
Inception
filmography, and I really, truly, well, I'm probably one of the only people, but I enjoyed Insomnia, but I also loved Memento. That Memento, in my opinion,
I tried to watch Memento.
Amazing. I love, and I think that might be part of why the Batman movies did disappoint me, because he was the Memento director to me, and Memento is one of those movies that really hit hard for me, because contrary to as much sort of franchise stuff and pop culture things that I consume, I really have, especially for like suspense horror, where it's a really unconventional like way of, that's why I like sort of the Flanagan like the Netflix shows he does, because they really, while they do pay homage to old horror, they also really deconstruct it and like flip it around and like do some really innovative stuff with it. So a lot of this is stuff you've quote unquote seen before. I don't even whenever, like the monkey face ripoff thing, like that's really a sort of classic horror movie thing. Anytime there is a monkey in a horror movie, or a chimpanzee or orangutan, or like
name them all.
Yeah, like
gorilla.
All of these, and like Christian Bale. Anytime they're in a horror movie, someone's face is gonna get ripped off and thrown across the room. So, or like they're gonna get ripped apart by the simian creature. But I appreciate the way he flips stuff, like the Haunting of Bly House. The reason I love that so much is, even though it's horror, it's way more of a like gay love story. I love that we get one of the best lesbian love stories I've ever seen in any sort of content, in any platform, any movie, anything that isn't specifically made like gay cinema. There's a lot of gay cinema that gets it right, but the money doesn't get there, so it's all really independent and really like you have to overlook sort of the flaws of the production, what they could afford, whereas Haunting of Bly House is just, this epic, and at the end of it, you realize you have invested all this time in, yes, a horror story, but it's at its heart, it's a lesbian love story where we get to see two women actually in. It's not a exploitative love story. It's not a I mean, technically it falls into like the dead gay at the end of it, technically, spoilers, but it isn't. But again, they take that trope and they blow it apart and they flip it and they use the conventions of that and the conventions of horror to tell it's a beautiful love story. It's a beautiful story about connecting with people. Anyway, so
I can't wait to rewatch that after we're done with
that's the one I've rewatched that one 2 times. I rewatched it during the pandemic, like 1.5 times. It just made me too sad the second time during the pandemic. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm gonna cry. We're all gonna cry.
Can't do it.
But yeah, so so anyway, Nolan, I got distracted, but
that's okay. I took you there with Rain of Fire.
Yeah, right.
I took you there with Rain of Fire, but in fairness, you took me to Rain of Fire when you were talking about the end of civilization. But yes,
there we go.
So
it's a journey, people.
I don't know if anybody saw this already today. I did just find some sad news that I want to share.
Oh no!
Richard Mole, Bull from Night Court, passed away today at 80 years old. I mean, he had a hell of a run, but that's sad.
One of the first bass lines I ever learned. Bow, bow. Bow, 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 bow.
Those words mean nothing to me.
Yeah, it was a show, an 80s sitcom about Night Court. And he was the giant bailiff. He was really, really tall, had a very unique face that
Lurch.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
We need to put a protective light around Marsha Warfield.
Yeah.
The day Marky Post died broke my heart because she and I had been chatting on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, she was very political, and for a long time on Twitter, I was very, very political, and she and I connected over what the F, people. She did a what the F. I replied to, yeah, exactly, Marky, TV's Marky Post. And so we chatted back and forth. Yeah, he's a great guy. He also did a lot of amazing genre work that often gets overlooked before he became Bull. He was a evil demon monster in The Sword and the Sorcerer.
I feel like when people say genre work, it means certain things.
Oh, was he in The Sword and Sorcerer?
Yeah, he was that demon. The demon in the weird bed. I need to find, I found those coloring books on the internet, but they're $60 for all 4, sir. It's not worth that. Anyway.
That's not worth it, no.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so any final thoughts that anybody wants to share before we get into that's what they said?
I did have one thing that I did not say earlier, believe it or not, to those 3 dudes in an internet chat room talking about how much I need to shut up. Despite the Lenore situation making me very angry and sad, I did like that, again, with Bly Manor, we got a happy ending. It was, despite all the death, all the misery that the family wrought, at the end of it, because of Lenore, we get a happy, the two wives who have survived all of these horrors and a lot of heartache are actually going to take all of that and do good in the world. And death was in on it. Death is death loves that for us or whatever. I really liked that happy ending. It made it.
Yeah.
That made it really easier for me to accept and sort of digest the Lenore situation. Because if Lenore had gotten away and I would have 100% accepted everything else wholeheartedly, but she did not, so I get to be mad about Camille.
That's fair.
But I enjoy, and I like the Flanagan in general. Despite the horrors he presents and how terrible things are for people in his almost all of his horror movies and horror shows, there is some bit of hope and happiness at the end.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it needed it for sure. After everything, it felt very heavy, but
so gruesome.
I'll say that sorry, I think I just lost it. Did I lose? No, the nature of Verna. First off, did we ever see her name other than in subtitles, or was it only in subtitles and credits?
I think it was only in subtitles and credits.
Okay, yeah, because I
said it.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she said. I believe she said her name. She said at one point her name was Verna.
I think at the bar.
Okay.
At the bar.
Yeah, because I only remember seeing it when it was like describing her off screen, and the subtitles said Verna's voice or something. But
sub-titties.
As far as like the nature of her, I kind of was thinking rather than a sort of traditional like Satan, Lucifer kind of character, I kind of saw her more like Death or like Death of the Endless kind of. It was like a less cute, fun, or like Death of the Endless, but more of a like, I'm here, I'm doing my job. But then there is that element of sort of like making deals with people. But
like a crossroads demon.
Yeah,
Crowley,
but like,
Supernatural,
Winchester, the Winchesters. But like, yeah, I just kind of saw her a little bit more like, passive. I didn't see it as malevolent in the sense of like, I mean, these people were kind of like asking for it, I guess. But I don't know.
Rather extravagantly.
What's that?
They were dressed rather extravagantly, so definitely ask. I'm kidding.
No, but just like, yeah. But then, I don't know. I still kind of do struggle a little bit with like, what was she? The Raven. Like, clearly there's that reference, but she also had like, there was some empathy that she expressed for Lenore, and I think even with what's his name, like with Frederick, it wasn't sort of sympathy, but when she kind of tells him that, so she had like, it's like, I'm usually pretty detached about this stuff, but you're kind of being extra, and so I'm gonna hang out for this one. I want to see this one.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I would too. How often do you see someone get severed in half?
Yeah, based on what you're saying, like that makes me think of her more of like fate, like a Mother Nature type of embodiment of like nature and fate, like death, yes, but not necessarily death, other than
death
at the acid party, but more like fate and destiny, like an actual element, like sort of embodied, like the cycle of life. Because life can be really good to you, but it can also be really shit. But we all go through it, and at some point, all of our numbers is up, regardless of what your afterlife is going to be or what your conception of it is. You still have a certain cycle in this meat puppet. So,
yep.
I can't help but think of it in D&D terms, like because in Dungeons and Dragons, there's demons from the abyss and devils from the nine hells. And devils are very like lawful, and they're the ones who come up with contracts and like the letter of the law. So if you make a deal with a devil, not the devil, but a devil, that's where warlocks come from. Warlocks get their powers from having a devil or another entity as a patron. But yeah, I consider her as similar to a devil, like a force of nature kind of thing, not necessarily the Grim Reaper, but something of that nature, some kind of devil that
that's where again when you all are saying force of nature, that's where my brain is like sort of part of like Neil Gaiman's like Death of the Endless kind of a thing. Like, this is my job, this is what I do. That was that characterization is definitely more not playful, but innocent and remorseful. But
I still think that's her domain, though. Like Death of the Endless, death is her thing. I don't think death is Verna's thing. It's just something that I think
deals are her thing.
Yeah, that's why right. I think of like nine hells devils, like selling your soul to the devil for this, that, and the other thing.
But Gugino did a great job. I agree. Every time she's been in these shows,
Mama Spy
she's
Kids.
Fantastic.
Mama Spy Kids.
Sure. Yeah. Also,
that's what I know her from.
What is the Pauly Shore movie?
Yeah, Son-in-Law. That's the first time I remember that in True Beverly Hills.
I honestly
loved
think
Spy
Gerald's
Kids.
Game was the first thing that I saw her in.
Well, by the time I saw her, she's had such an interesting and you don't, I mean, like, we're seeing it more because the boomers and Gen X were refusing to.
Oh no, she was in Sin City.
Yeah, she was. But I think it's really interesting how she's had, despite like Son-in-Law being like her first real like big break, quote unquote. It's been really interesting to watch her have this career where she gets to like show up and play really different roles and really meaty role, and it kind of started, I think, like, she was in the Spy Kids movies, but that's a pretty, I mean, I'm not to disparage it, but that's a pretty thankless generic Hollywood role for women of a certain age. And from that, like, she showed up in Watchmen as Sally Spectre, Sally Jupiter Silk the original, and like really gave an interesting performance in that role, because that character is not, to me, sympathetic, and the comic is written because Alan Moore doesn't particularly care for women. You can see it in his writing. I don't care if he wants to try to cancel me, whatever, Alan. I know all the same freaking chaos magic you do, sir. Anyway,
you tell him.
But it's just been interesting watching how, through horror, which is sort of standard, like old actors and actresses would go to horror movies at the end, like Donald Pleasance and Betsy Palmer and Friday the 13th. Like that horror used to be a place where it's like you were an old actor who used to be somebody. You need to do so many hours to qualify for your SAG insurance. So you do some cheapo horror film to make a couple bucks, to do your car repair, to pay your rent, whatever. But it's still the case that horror is giving older actors meatier roles, but we live in a world where the horror that we're getting is so much meatier and so much more thought out.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's specifically Mike Flanagan, and like, she's had that opportunity through his particular series, right? And the way he's handled it. Yeah.
And just the fact that he obviously in some case sees her as a type of muse to the work that he's doing, that he keeps giving her these roles where she gets to strut
very
herself.
Central. Yeah.
Like she gets
she strutted her stuff. Mask of Red Death. Oof.
Yeah. Well, and this one, she's so many different facets of the character before we get up.
When I saw that was a thing, I was like, that's a figure too.
Yeah.
Put on my
and she was also, I remember her on TV. She was the
Spy Kids
mom. Before Spy Kids mom, she was with Michael J. Fox on his last thingy.
Spin City, I think.
Yeah, Spin City. She was on.
Yeah, he was the mayor, and she
City.
was. They were the partners. I think they're maybe married. I don't know.
She's prolific. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I just remembered she was in that phenomenal gunpowder milkshake thing.
Gunpowder milkshake. I love that.
Her and Angela Bassett and Michelle Yeoh.
I enjoyed it.
The
Oh yeah.
What is her name?
That was
the
fun.
blue lady.
I'm just saying, it literally just sounds
Karen
like you're
Gillan.
making up things at this point.
And then
she's not.
Powder milkshake. You should watch it.
Karen Gillan.
And then
Gamora.
No.
What's her face?
Nebula.
No.
Doctor Who.
Nebula.
Pond.
Yeah. Oh, Nebula. Whatever.
Yeah, blue lady from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I met her.
What is it?
Pond.
Amy Pond.
Sucker Punch too.
Sucker
Holy
Punch.
Shit,
I could live without.
Yeah, you don't have to mention
Sucker
Punch.
My friends and I, Holly, went and saw that, and we had not had enough jelly shots at Applebee's to make it through Sucker Punch without me jumping up and going, fuck this nonsense shit.
I remember seeing ads for it, and it looked bad, but I didn't.
On paper, it was something that I should have liked. It had samurais, it had mecha.
There were parts of, like, when I was learning how to do basic editing, I took that, I don't know how I got a copy of that movie from the internet, but I took it and I sliced out everything but like the fight sequences and then set them to cool music. And the fight sequences work as like music videos if you cut out some of the up the butt shots. So, like there's something there. If it had not been made for the male gaze, that could have probably worked. But anyway,
And
that's
when we're talking
different
about the male
Gaze
gaze,
spelled Gaze.
Gaze.
yeah,
Yep.
not the male gaze. I'm sure
We
there are
love the
many
male
male
gaze.
gays who love it because it's very campy.
Yeah.
But there's not
Yeah,
much
it is
man
very.
candy.
It seems very campy from what I've seen.
It literally was like 3 fewer butt shots from being a camp classic. It literally came so close to greatness, and then just
Real quick before we
Thanks.
get to that's what they said. Brick, you said that was on paper a movie that you should have liked. For me, that's Jupiter Ascending. I should love that movie.
Same.
I can't get through it. I can't watch it. Like I put it on and I start watching
Two
it.
very hot people too.
And
That's the guy who's going to be Gambit.
The next thing I know, the movie's over, and I'm like, wait, I didn't watch it. Like,
I know, I've done that every time.
It's just a black hole of time for me.
And here's
for
the
some
thing,
reason.
I tried my editing trick with that one. I tried to go and like cut some of the cool sequences out and set it to music, and I don't know what happened because I literally fell asleep editing. So I'm sad.
I should love that movie, but I can't.
It should have been good.
It does not
I
hold my interest.
don't know if I've watched
were in a
it
weird
because
place when they made that shit.
now I'm questioning if I have, and it's also a black hole.
It very well could be.
That would not
Maybe
surprise
that's
me.
just how the movie
because
works.
I mean it's Channing Tatum and
Mila Kunis and
yeah, like that's something I would
Bean.
watch.
It should have been really good.
Oh, like, and Sean Bean. Oh yeah.
Visually, it looked epic. Like, but I don't know like what happened.
Absolutely.
Every 7 times I tried to watch it, and the 3 or 4 times I tried to edit it, it's just like it is. It's like a black hole.
And
it's a science thing.
Written and directed by the Wachowskis. Like it should be good.
It should be epic.
But and you know what? I can't even say it's not good because I haven't watched it.
Maybe the movie is like a gate to like a side multiverse, and over there
it's outside
like
time and space.
Star Wars, yeah. Like over there, we all loved it, and it's like the biggest movie ever.
It's in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that's what they said and close this out.
Yes,
this has been great.
Yeah. It's been 2.5 hours.
Does everybody have their that's what they said up to read?
And obviously the longer list is the first one, the shorter list is the second. I guess not.
Oh, it's longer if you click the thing to make the other thing go away. Yes. Okay, I'm in.
So I think we'll do this the same as we did for Ahsoka. I'll start and we'll go clockwise. So me, Kayla, Allison, Brick, and round and round we go. Where we stop.
It'll be the last one. We know it'll be the last one, Johnny.
So this is your that's what they said for the whole of the fall of the house of
3 through 8.
What?
3 through 8. We already did them last time.
Oh yeah, that's true. The majority of the fall of the House of Usher.
Not the whole. Almost all the whole.
3/8.
We're almost filling the hole. No, that's not the right. It's more than that.
There is no stopping in the white zone.
Anywho,
fractions.
There's 8 episodes.
You said 3 of the 8.
3/8.
Yeah, it's not 3/8.
No, because we did. There's 8 episodes. We already covered.
We've
2.
only done 2.
7/8. 6/8. Math. Yes, sir.
We got this, guys. In Johnny's defense, it is past midnight there.
It's 1:45. So.
Yeah.
All
right.
Go. In Pennsylvania.
I did. I started. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Say it.
Have a seat.
You want some?
I mean, yeah, I want some.
He's very, very good.
You had to be so hard.
I was craving that today.
I'm looking for a little pussy.
Fuck me.
She's very excited about this too.
What do they do to y'all over there?
You guys go hand to mouth?
just for a minute.
You have the same hole, Vic.
Watching them try to fill that hole.
Perry tried to fill it with anything, really.
You're gonna pull out now?
Daddy.
Let me see how long this lasts.
You've been coming down here a lot.
I thought you preferred to watch.
It's happening.
Let's do this once. Let's do this fast. Let's do this quiet.
We're almost there, Augie.
It'll come to you.
She's going to go down.
Nuh-uh, that's mine, buddy. She's gonna go down, but I'll be slow and rough.
I think I meant it'll be slow and rough. Sorry.
I need 5 minutes inside.
Have a little patience.
Sure, I can't tempt you.
What did you have to fill them with?
We can make all the noise we want.
They'll eat anything.
Anything.
Yay!
That
Thank
is
y'all for
your.
being
That's what they said for
such
6/8.
Johnny's so hungry.
3/4 of the fall of the House of Usher.
Johnny's
I
so
was really
hungry, he
starting
could
to worry
eat that
about
Arby's.
you.
What?
0.75.
I said I was really starting to worry about you.
75%.
When
I
you
just-
said 3/8, I'm like, no.
I just audit travel reports for a living. That's my job. So don't worry. Math is my thing. All right. Hey,
Real
we
quick.
geeked the fuck out about the fall of the
Yes,
House
we
of
did
Usher.
geek the F
That's
out.
pretty geeky.
But coming up Monday night, we're going to be talking about the rest of Stranger Things
Yay.
with Tony, Taylor Toys of Phantasm Toys, and we'll be giving away this bad chick. She is so cool in the little
Not that
gargoyle
specific
ghost.
one, but
Not this specific one, a brand new one. And I meant to get the card back, which it's awesome because you can keep her mint on card or mint with card, however you prefer. But she has a lot of awesome details to her. Let me see if I can get it to focus a little bit more.
I could actually
yeah,
see the glitter
she's-
better when your hand wasn't behind it.
Of course. Well, there's also, I just try to point out the like shimmery eyes, and the tongue is awesome. Yeah, they did a great job with her. And so they're being very generous, and we're going to give away one at the end of the show. So make sure to check out Instagram for the giveaway post. It'll say in the description how to enter, but basically you have to follow TTFO channel and Phantasm, like the post, comment to your favorite Halloween movie or show, and then be in the live stream to know if you've won or not. So make sure to go and do that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Johnny, were you going to say something else? It
No.
looked like you were. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Well, anyways, thanks, Brooke and Allison, for joining us. Do you want to let the people know where they can find you and what you have coming up? Allison?
Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be joined by Muriel, Kayla, and Andrew of Gady's Toy. We're going to be coloring a picture of the Sorceress of Grayskull.
Ooh.
And just hanging out and chatting. We had so much fun on the Carrie Fisher day that I was like, me and Muriel and Kayla are going to hang out that day anyway. Let's invite Andrew and just gossip. It'll be like Sex in the City, but with relatable people. And then I'll have a compilation of shorts coming. And at some point, I'll finish my large size Princess Leia video. So at some point.
Beautiful. Brick?
Is it large size, the giant Kenner, or because
Yep.
it's a large video? Oh,
Yeah, the large Kenner figure.
After you hang out with those folks on Sunday, you can hang out over on the Highly Articulated channel and hear us talk about this weird thing called AWOC, monkey business, since you all were so confused about monkeys and chimps.
You rip our faces off for it, don't you?
Monkey Business AWOC
Why
Talk
would I
Live on the
know?
highly articulated channel at 2:05 p.m. Pacific for whatever reason. He does an 05 thing. And then a little bit
Yeah, I
after
was
that.
wondering why he does the 05.
It's
Moss
Canadian.
Man. And
I
then
know,
at
we finally got our Mossies.
4:30 Pacific time on the Brick Something channel, which by the way, we just hit 600. Yay.
Yay.
Woo!
I'm going to be joined for my weekly Sunday Brick Something news show at 4:30 p.m. Pacific by Cloud Foxwell. So that's super exciting.
Excellent.
And that's
love
it.
her.
I think. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, yes, make sure everyone to check out both of their channels. Smack that like, smack that subscribe button. Please do that here as well. Do all the smacking. Follow us at GTFO channel. Yeah, if you want to win a Destructor, make sure to check out our Instagram for that. Yeah, and yeah, it'll be Monday night we're gonna start at 6 p.m. Pacific and probably do the giveaway. I don't know at one point, but at the end of the show we'll do the giveaway because
Before you know it.
give people some time to enter because I think some people are a little confused on how to enter.
Yeah, I think the reminder about the giveaway is getting more engagement than the giveaway post itself.
It is. So yeah. It's fine. It is what it is. People will figure it out eventually when they're like, "Oh wait, I'm not entered." Yeah, no.
Good way, Carl.
Yeah,
Reading
Carl.
comprehension.
Yeah, reading is hard.
So
yeah,
we discovered tonight math is hard, reading is hard.
Yes.
What else? Yes.
Words are hard.
Life.
Words are hard. Life is
Life.
hard. Everything is hard. That's what they said.
Hopefully,
thanks everyone
homework
for
is hard.
joining us. If you're watching on the replay, thanks for watching on the replay. Feel free to drop a comment. Yeah, this has been super fun geeking the F out about the fall of the House of Usher. Woo! Thanks again, Brick and Allison, for joining us. Until next
Always
time.
a pleasure.
Have a good one. With that blood.
Creepy Carrie, creepy Carrie.
That was terrible.